Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the ASTROLABE on Monday morning, brought to you by King Pilled. We got a banger lined up for you guys today. Got some good stuff. The chat's popping. Euthanasia says, is the comet our loading bar? Yes, it is. Isn't that clever? Isn't that a clever little bit that I added there? That actually took a lot of work to try to get that to actually time out perfectly and everything. That was fun to make. Trump is posting, and just here as I sitting here going live, all of a sudden I've had notifications turned on for him for a while, and just started seeing more and more tweets popping in. Let's see what else he's saying. Oh, Donald Trump and Elon Musk live tonight. Let's see, 8 p.m. Eastern, so 7 p.m. my time. I got to make sure I get that. I'm waiting to see when it's clear that he's the one actually tweeting. Everything that's been tweeted so far is does not look like something that he himself personally typed out and posted. In fact, the last time a tweet looks like him was January 8, 2021. He said, the 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first, and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. And then he says, to all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Then he posted his mugshot with DonaldJTrump.com. Then this morning, he posted a video. We're going to watch that here in a little bit. And 6 minutes ago, he said, are you better off now than you were when I was president? Our economy is shattered. Our border has been erased. We're a nation in decline. Make the American dream affordable again. Make America safe again. Make America great again. I don't know. Something feels right with the world. Trump is posting on Twitter. Even if it's not Trump himself posting just yet, that's cool. That's fine. He's back. I'm very curious to know, like, from a business perspective, what his agreement is with Truth Social in like terms of like exclusively posting there, because I mean, I don't personally know anybody who is on Truth Social or who posts about being on Truth Social or anything. Maybe there's people who are on there just keep track or something. I don't know, but I don't know anybody who's on Truth Social. Twitter is the town square. Twitter's always where the action has been. So it makes me wonder if there's if he has some kind of agreement. Did he change? Did that agreement get changed? Was it always planned that he would come back again? Very curious to know. Andrew in the chat says, I'm finding out if I'm having a baby boy or a girl today. Let's fucking go. Congratulations, man. Are you do you have a preference? Do you have one? I know there's got to be one that you're secretly hoping for. Obviously, you know, you're going to be happy either way. I got to know, is there one? Are you looking for a little man? Are you trying to get a little princess? Let us know. What's up, everyone in the chat? So today, got a whole bunch of different stuff here. Got some good funny ones, got some interesting ones. We're going to talk about Trump and his campaigning. We're going to talk about we got some female commentary, not commentary by females, don't worry. Commentary on females from Homath and Kofafianon. And got an interesting thing about Tolkien and his brilliance, and then a handful of other things as well. So we're going to make our way through this. Do me a favor and hit the like button as you come on in, and we'll get her started. So very first thing we've got today, got to remind you guys, we got to keep the energy up. We got to watch this one regularly. Oh, now I got to figure out which one it is. Which tab? Here it is. We're going to watch it.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again. when they took.
That's the energy right there. And it's up to us. We got to keep that energy up. There's a lot of demoralization campaigns going on out there right now. We're going to talk about some of that here in a little bit, but don't fall for them. There's a lot of people who want you demoralized. They want to suck your energy away. They thrive on your demoralization. And every time you demoralize, you feed them. You become one of their pawns. No fucking black pilling. This one here, this will be good for Andrew here. I don't know if, Andrew, do you have kids already or is this your first? I have a feeling it's probably your first, but either way, you'll either already relate to this or very soon you will relate to this. Drew Dick, Drew Dyke. I don't know which one's better, which one's worse. He says, man, parenting really is a crash course in theology. You have someone made in your image who you love so desperately you can hardly stand it. But half the time they're convinced you're trying to make them miserable and everything you're doing is actually for their ultimate good. This is, he says it's his first. Congratulations, man. Yeah, you'll get to experience this eventually. Someone made in your image who you love so desperately you can hardly stand it. Half the time they're convinced you're trying to make them miserable and everything you're doing is actually for their ultimate good. Right? Or presumably, hopefully it's for their ultimate good. And I would add to this, I don't know, half the time you want to just pick them up by the ankles and bounce their head off of a wall. They're just, somehow they manage to be the best thing in the world. You would absolutely lay down your life for them without a second's thought. And also you want to just strangle them, throw them across a room multiple times a day. It's one of the best experiences. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And it genuinely does mark a line, I think, between, I know this is sensitive for people who don't or can't have kids. They don't necessarily want to hear this kind of thing, but it's true. It genuinely changes the way you see the world. It changes your motivation from top to bottom, and just makes you a different person altogether. And the biggest thing I think that stuck out to me when I, shortly after my son was born, and I realized, as I've talked before, about how I was like, I remember I was walking around the neighborhood, and we lived in Southern California, had a beautiful little neighborhood, sidewalks and flowering bushes and fruit trees all over and everything. And I'd go out in the morning and push him around in his stroller while he slept. And I listened to podcasts and stuff. And I remember when the realization dawned on me that I had, by procreating, I had signed up for exposing myself to the possibility of experiencing the worst pain imaginable. If something happened to him, it'd just be the worst pain imaginable. Excuse me. And there's nothing I could do about it. There's no way I could control it. You know, when he's a kid, you can do some stuff. You know, even now he's about 4, almost 4, and there's still we can protect him by and large. But as he gets older and older, I know he's going to do dumb shit. I know he's going to get in car accidents, or he's like his dad. He's going to flip motorcycles or fall out of trees or skiing accidents and mangle his hand. He's going to do all kinds of stuff that I just have a whole new appreciation for my parents because of all the shit that I've put him through, and knowing that he is a stubborn little fellow, very stubborn, insists on doing everything his own way, and experiences the same blind rage that his father and his grandfather experience. It's an Erickson man tradition, apparently. And there's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is love him to the best of my ability and protect him to the best of my ability, but I'm also going to have to cut him loose and let him make his own decisions and fuck up and get hurt and just hope that he survives through it all. But I realized as I was experiencing that, it dawned on me that I was beginning to relive my own childhood through him. And I still do this it's not quite as pronounced now because, 4 years it's become more normal just having a little me running around. Although he's a little me, and he's also a little, he's like his mom, like in male form. Yeah, it definitely rejiggered my own perception of my own childhood and my own relationship with my parents, and in a way that I never would have been able to experience without having my own child. So I think it's we think of human maturation as being, you're like you're a fetus, and then you're a newborn, and then you're an infant, and then you're a toddler, and then my mom always called it the stage just before toddler. She called it waddler. So I guess there's waddler, and then there's toddler. Eventually, you get to like elementary school, and then adolescence, and then teenager. And then you get up to adult. You might have like young adult, and then you'll have adult. You might have like middle-aged, elderly, but we categorize these all as adult. But I think there's a stage of development in there that is distinct from adult, that is parent. And this could qualify for anyone who's who has a child that they're responsible for caring for, whether if you adopted them or you inherited them, or family member died and you took over care of their children. In any case, it changes the way that you interact with the world and the way that you see yourself in such a fundamental way that I think it's got to be considered an entirely new stage of human development and human maturation. All right, next one here. My grease monkey friends here will appreciate this one. I know enough that I was cringing as I watched this. Caption on it says, "Man's just handled a live grenade, primed it, pulled the pen, cooked it, and defused it all in the same video. I just saw an OSHA handbook spontaneously combust somewhere." You guys, this is probably going to be a little bit hard to watch if you fully understand the stakes here, but this dude's impressive.
You ever have this problem when you're trying to put springs in your car and they won't fit? So you get a spring compressor, but with the spring compressor on, it won't fit because the spring compressors are in the way. So you want to compress it, then add zip ties, keep them in the middle so they're easy to access.
Don't try this at home. I feel obligated to say don't try this at home.
And then remove the spring compressor carefully. That's how much shorter it makes the spring. And then you want to take your angry little ball of zip ties and potential energy and just slot it in. Then with the spring in situ, you just go to town with the wire cutters.
I gotta admit, it's pretty clever. It's pretty clever. The zip ties are. I saw someone in one of my group chats, I think, just recently was talking about zip ties being like the most important currency, and whenever we get to our Mad Max reality, zip ties are going to be the like the sign of wealth. Whoever has lots of zip ties, they'll be able to do lots of things. Kate says her female concern senses are tingling here. Yeah, rightly so. Remember, I was just talking about having a little boy and knowing that he's gonna grow up and do stupid shit and try to hurt himself. Yeah. If I had it correctly here, it sounded like he had a British accent. I wonder if he's in the UK. Like, is this how bad it's gotten over there? I think we really do need to start thinking seriously about rescuing these people from the situation they've found themselves in. Because if they've been reduced to this, then maybe we just maybe we need to do them a favor. We need to liberate them. I saw Mark Andreessen tweeted something about liberating them, about liberating the UK. He said they'll greet us as liberators. We got the billionaires doing a little shit posting. Speaking of Trump on Twitter. Another one. This here is just impressive as hell. I've played a little badminton in my time, and I've heard before. Actually, let me look this up real quick. How fast does a shuttlecock go? Shuttlecock. The fastest recorded speed of a badminton shuttlecock is 306 miles per hour. Achieved by Malaysia's Tan Boon Hoeng in 2013 while testing new racket technology. Fastest recorded speed during a competitive game is 264 miles per hour. Shuttlecock can come off the racket at up to 200 miles per hour, and unlike a tennis ball, never touches the ground. This is impressive as hell. The reflexes on these guys is incredible.
Good flick serve. this is fantastic. Oh, it came off the frame. What a rally. Sensational, I don't believe it. It was going long. Well, without any shadow of a doubt, the best rally of the match.
Not incredible. Badminton and ping pong are both just phenomenal. See, I love I've always been a big sports ball guy, and you're never going to get me. You're never going to make me stop being a sports ball guy. I think there's so many beautiful, wonderful things about it. Seeing, there's very few things where you see the human body being pushed to its absolute limits in some capacity, whether you know, like physical, mental, and within the sports world is like one of the few places in our society still where you can actually experience that. And I think that's a good thing. It's great to watch the development curve of an athlete and the discipline and everything it takes to push themselves and master a sport, master something. Like, how many things do you do throughout the day where you could say that you're genuinely pushing yourself to your absolute limits to master some physical feat? Doesn't really exist that much for a lot of us anymore. I know there's still people out there that you know, the ones who still live close to the land, but by and large, we've been withdrawn from the land in a lot of ways. So we live very comfortable lives, but we never have to push ourselves. And within the sports world, these guys, it's cutthroat. They have to push themselves relentlessly. I've followed the NFL draft and training camp and preseason and stuff for a long time, and you watch these guys who have spent their entire lives building up to this opportunity, and there's massive payoffs if they actually manage to engage in this competition and win out. And there's all the politics and stuff that go along with it. You know, you got the veteran guy, and then you got the young rookie coming in, and so he doesn't just have to be better than the veteran. He has to be so much better than the veteran that he can offset the experience quotient. And the fact that sports ball has gotten so completely taken over and paused and perverted is precisely because it's such a valuable thing. It's such a great thing for maintaining. What's the word? It would be, I want to say nationalist, but it's not nationalist. It's like the feeling that you get when you have your people that you rally around, and you guys are all pushing for the same goal, and you all wear the same uniform. And there's something about that that's very wholesome, very good. And just giving it up and getting rid of it is some theory cell bullshit. No. We're not going to be a bunch of fucking nerds. We're going to take back our sports ball. We're going to take it back, and we're going to watch our young men have an avenue that they can excel in physically and mentally and professionally. Esprit de corps. Yeah. Esprit de corps. That wasn't the word I was looking for, but that's perfect. There's so few outlets today for experiencing that esprit de corps. If you have a young boy, if you have a young man, you've got to get him involved in sports. Whether it could be like golf, where it's just like basically like you against the terrain, you against the equipment. I mean, golf is you against the other guys, but ultimately, really, it's about you against the course itself. Or it could be, tennis or football or baseball or any of these, soccer. Get your boys out and involved in a team. I played baseball for a long time when I was a kid. Very, very avid. Was on a track to I was like right at the stage where I was starting. There was Major League Scouts that were starting to sniff around, and I ended up going a different direction. And I don't regret it. I don't think it's probably the reason why my shoulder is still at least somewhat functional, shoulder and elbow, because pitching is not easy. But it's not easy on your body. But I definitely want my son to be involved in sports and to experience being a part of a team and having to master those skills and the discipline it takes to sit down and focus. We got him in baseball and soccer this year, and he was too at 3. He's still not really plugged into what's happening. But it was great to see him starting to get involved and trying to figure out what's going on and hanging out with the other kids and stuff. Like this is a very wholesome thing. And if you are anti-sports ball, you're just revealing yourself as a nerd who spent too much time in lockers when you were in school. It's like a signal to those of us who know. It's like, oh, sports ball. Oh, okay, you were one of those guys. All right, yeah. You're not cool. You're not cool for being an anti-sports ball guy. Could I dunk the basketball? No, not even close. Yeah, like seriously, dunking. I do think it's funny when I totally going off on a rabbit trail here, but there was a couple of times when I was playing basketball that if I was really not focused on trying to jump, I was just focused on like trying to block a shot or something like that, I could jump way higher. If I'm just like standing, okay, let me see how high I can jump, and I jump, it's like, just get a little bit of air, a little bit of white boy hops. But there was a couple of times where I was like trying to chase someone down to block a shot or something, and I would have that like record scratch freeze frame moment when I'm way up in the air and I'm like, holy shit, I've never been this high off the ground before. I don't know how I got up here, but I definitely can't replicate it. There's something about the subconscious. Your subconscious mind can push your body to do things that your conscious mind can't. And you have to get the conscious mind has to be distracted with something else, and your subconscious mind will push you beyond what you think you can do. Taylor Brown says dunking on sports ball is fake and gay Lolbertardianism. Yes, indeed. Patrick says, knew a family that homeschooled their kids, lived in the sticks, put their kids in sports, and I think it did wonders for their social life. Yeah, absolutely. Very much so. That's almost me growing up. I was homeschooled, lived out in the sticks, but I spent a lot of time in sports, and it was very, very good for me. I'm glad that I got to do that. Okay. I saw someone said, Buck says he likes Witt's idea. Astrolabe Fantasy Football League. That is a very good idea. I think that is a very good idea. I have a completely separate life. I've mentioned a few times my sports life, where I've been very involved in fantasy sports and NFL draft coverage and that sort of thing. And it'd be very fun to mash those lives up. All right, let's keep it moving here. Elon, a couple days ago, tweeted out over the weekend. He tweeted out this video, and I really like his spirit. It's very inspiring, and I think we're going to talk a little bit about Hyperstition here in a little while, once we get through some of these other stories. But this is, I don't really care your reasons. If you're counter signaling this, it tells me something about you. It tells me something about your mindset that I think needs to change. You're too bogged down. You're getting too autistic about the details. This the spirit that he's expressing here is there's no qualifications to this. It's good.
You see me? Yeah, I guess. Okay. So as Jonah was alluding to, there are a lot of negative things in the world. There's a lot of terrible things that are happening all over the world, all the time. There are lots of problems that need to get solved. There's lots of things that are miserable and kind of get you down. But life cannot just be about solving one miserable problem after another. That can't be the only thing. There need to be things that inspire you, that make you glad to wake up in the morning and be part of humanity. That's why we did this. This guy called Tsiolkovsky, one of the early Russian rocket scientists, the great saying, Earth is the cradle of humanity. You cannot stay in the cradle forever. It is time to go forth, become a star-faring civilization, be out there among the stars, expand the scope and scale of human consciousness. I find that incredibly exciting. That makes me glad to be alive. I hope you feel the same way.
He's so he's so charmingly autistic. you could see him like, he's given like this hype speech, and you could see he's trying to rally it, but he doesn't really operate on that wavelength. The autism is very strong with him, but it comes off to me as very sincere, and I think he's always been this way. We're going to talk a little bit in a bit here about billionaires, and we've mentioned it here in the past, but this spirit of looking beyond, not sitting here and engaged in these zero-sum controversies over existing resources, but looking at the potential in the future and challenging ourselves to do great things and extend our reach. Once upon a time, this was just like, everyone was around the early cradle of civilization, and we were going to extend our reach out into new continents. And at least according to the official narrative, we've exhausted all of our continental reach. We've populated basically all of the continents. And okay, so where else are we going to go? Let's go find somewhere else to go. Let's go out and explore. Go try to build great things and do incredible feats. This is something that has to be cultivated in the human spirit, and this is part of the reason why there's a natural longing for that, longing for the greatness and extending out into phone call, extending out into the great unknown and exploring it and pushing ourselves to our absolute limits and figuring out how to get beyond that. This relates to the sports ball thing, which is kind of a microcosm of that. And I would say it's no wonder that at the same time that the whole sports ball phenomenon has been so thoroughly taken over by degeneracy that we've lost a lot of this spirit for adventure and accomplishment and extending out into the cosmos, whatever that means. Like I don't care whether you think the Earth is a globe or flat or toroidal or cubical. I don't care what you think. In any case, we need to be pushing the absolute limits, extending out, building beyond. There's a quote I saw that I almost included in here today but it was a little redundant, but would have fit in well here. Peter Thiel talking about the necessity for growth. And this is part of the case that I have my issues with some of the EAC guys. We don't exactly share in anthropology, I don't think. But the one thing I do agree with them on, I think is a very good point, is the necessity of continuing to build and grow. And if you're not growing, you're stagnating. I thought about this a lot in terms of we tend to look at ourselves in absolute terms, but what we need to be mapping is our trajectory. Are we on an upward trajectory? Am I better today than I was yesterday? Along whatever domain you're focusing on. And if you're optimizing that trajectory, be a little bit better today than I was yesterday, and then a little bit better tomorrow than I was today, you're maintaining that upward trajectory. But if you begin looking at the world as just like a static, kind of the humanist, neoliberal, like Steven Pinker, what's the other guy? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That are, like, we're at the end of history. We've arrived. There's nowhere else to go. We've completely covered the globe. We've maxed out. We've discovered the ideal form of government. We've, all these different things. We've hit the end of history. Well, that subtly at first, but more and more overtly, that is just completely extinguishing to the human spirit. We need to have somewhere to go, somewhere to strive, challenges to overcome. And when everything is just stagnant, then it becomes zero sum, which means we get reduced into perpetual mimetic, like a totally destructive mimetic rivalry. Just fighting over existing things rather than figuring out how to create new and better things and how to maintain a growth trajectory. Now, you don't want to worship growth for its own sake. You don't want to be like generating artificial growth just to say it's growth. Obviously, this is true. But that's where I think the accelerationist, I'm very sympathetic to and I don't mean accelerationist as in the people who are like, oh, we need everything to burn down. That's not accelerationism. I think if you want to call yourself an accelerationist for whatever reason, okay, use that mouth sound. But the accelerationist in the technological realm is this. It's this belief of the need for growth, the need to be constantly building and growing and accelerating and Because if we don't, the nature of our species is that when we stay stagnant and flat, everything becomes zero sum, and strife and controversy and war and poverty and all these things are going to be maximized. So I'm very sympathetic to. I like the spirit of Elon. Relatedly, everyone wants to doom about AI, and this is not. I guess this is not technically AI per se, but AI is becoming just kind of an all-encompassing phrase. You know what somebody means, and they use it. Don't get autistic about it. Everyone wants to give you all of the doomer outcomes, all the terrible things about these different AI technology. Look how they're going to deceive you. Look at how bad it's going to be. Look how awful everything is going to be. And here, you've got a beautiful application of this sort of technology. Watch this.
Can we see anything?
Yes. Oh.
Well, I'm talking to you. So, this is a new way of being able to communicate and be included in this.
I'm looking at this.
Yeah, she's naturally looking at me, but she's realising she doesn't have to lip read me. She can just look through the glasses.
Alexa, what's the weather forecast?
23 degrees Celsius with mostly cloudy skies. Today's forecast is clouds and showers with a high of 24 degrees.
Hello?
Hey Josh, it's Jillian. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you want to get dinner sometime this week?
Yeah, definitely. That sounds good.
Powerful. It's powerful. The power and the importance for people who are hard of hearing all over the world to feel that they don't have to solely rely on lip reading anymore. And it's a big moment.
I'm getting a real-time stream of subtitled information where ordinarily I might be behind. I might not quite catch everything, but this is giving me a real-timed narrative which enables me to be informed, it enables me to be involved.
Effectively, we're taking that audio stream from the microphone on the glasses. What we're doing, though, is then taking those captions and putting them into augmented reality. There was just a little epiphany moment where I thought, well, hang on a second. He watches TV all the time with subtitles on. Why can't we subtitle the world?
That is really cool. It's machine learning, not AI. Yeah. There was another comment down here that I wanted to highlight. How do deaf people have British accents? That's interesting. That's a very interesting thought. I never thought about that before. Presumably because the people telling or showing them whether they're pronouncing something correctly, family teachers, etc., when learning to speak were British. Also potentially cochlear implants, partial hearing, not fully deaf from birth. Interesting. I never considered that. That was not the comment that I wanted to see, but oh yeah, it was this. So converting audio into augmented reality in real time using AI. So essentially, obviously, what's happening is the whatever this technology they have with these glasses, it's giving them subtitles. They can read what someone's saying, so they can wear these glasses and they can interact with someone normally and not have to like struggle with not being able to hear them and interact with them. I think this sort of thing is great. You know, everyone's very concerned about the Neuralink stuff, and I think rightly so. I think there's obviously many bad things that can come from that, but there's also many good things that can come from it as well. And I don't see people out there harping on like pacemakers or artificial limbs or any of these other sorts of things. And I suppose if you were going to say that Neuralink is objectively bad and that this is a line that should never be crossed. Well, okay, I think you should probably draw that line a little further back. And I'm open to that. If someone said no artificial enhancements to the human body or no artificial replacements to any part of the human body. Okay, sure. Like, okay, be consistent on that. And I can appreciate that. I don't agree. I think, you know, you even have to have a question about like using a walking stick or a cane or a brace on your knee or something like that. Like, at what point does it become part of your body? If you literally wear it all the time, but it could technically be taken off, but you always wear it, you know, wearing glasses, period. All of these things, I think, there's a reason why people are very sensitive to this sort of thing, and I think it's good to be sensitive to those bad applications of this. But I think people are looking for reasons to be demoralized. There's so many reasons to be demoralized. People are going out and looking for more. And they're spending all that time and energy that could be devoted to finding reasons to be moralized. My wife says Eastwood will do jujitsu so he can at least back up his sassy ass mouth. Yeah, he's he's gonna need it. He's gonna need it. Okay, so it looks like, based on the comments here, it looks like we're gonna have to create an Astrolabe Fantasy Football League. Now the question is, how nerdy do you guys want to get with this? Because I've got 3 leagues that I've done for about 12 years now, I think, that are salary cap dynasty leagues where you're not just adding a player, you're signing players to contracts, and you have to manage a salary cap. And you have to manage the contracts. You do rookie drafts. Rookies have you do a snake draft, and then you do a free agency auction. The snake draft is for the rookies. Rookies, based on what pick they have, they're assigned a particular contract. We can get real nerdy with this if you guys want. I know I just lost a bunch of you. Let me see. Wits in 4 leagues. What's one more? Yeah. At the peak when I was in college, I think I was probably in, I don't know, something like 15 leagues maybe. And then with best ball and everything, you know, now you could just do a draft and then you don't have to like manage your team for the rest of the year. The most I've ever done with that was probably 50 or 60. But then it's just, you know, you're just doing the draft and then you don't have to do anything else. So it's not the same. Westerners need a new frontier to conquer, indeed, Patchwork. Okay, let me just catch up on some of these. It looked like there was a super chat that came in here. Let me get down to it. Langcraft says, we have empty deserts and frozen hellscapes at home, though, with breathable atmosphere and habitable pressure and natural radiation shielding. Yeah, like I don't think these are mutually exclusive. I don't think they have to be. In fact, they can benefit each other if you know, based on what you think about space. But okay. Man, you guys are popping. Here we go. $5 Canadian from QWERTYZZ7 says, could we use this to catch feds? Well, that's an interesting thought. There's a lot of spycraft applications for this that are very interesting. Okay. Helen Keller definitely fake. Yeah, I very much buy the Helen Keller is fake narrative. I think very, very hard to believe. We actually have there'll be something funny with related to Helen Keller coming out soon. I'll just say that for now. Little tease. Bryce says, only fantasy league I played and I won in the first year without really working at it. Friends got pissed and didn't ask me back the next year. I haven't played since. That is funny because there's the relentless tinkerers, the guys who are constantly adding and doing trades and all this sort of stuff. And then there's the guys that just draft, and they just draft based on whatever the consensus draft boards are, and then don't do very much. And those are often the ones that are the best. But all the tinkering is half the fun. Okay. So the next story, I don't know if you guys heard, but Susan Wojcicki died, the former CEO, YouTube CEO. It's kind of interesting. Apparently she had cancer, and she died very shortly after her son died. You could speculate on that if you want. I probably have done a little speculating in my own head. But this was an interesting little video clip that I came across.
Happy Friday! Wojcicki invited us to the weekly all-staff meeting. She's surprisingly down-to-earth for one of the most powerful people in Silicon Valley.
And of course we had to have fun.
Where her trajectory started in an unlikely way.
I owned a garage and I was worried about covering the mortgage. So I was willing to rent my garage to any student. But then 2 students appeared. One was named Sergey Brin. The other was named Larry Page. They are the founders of Google.
Yes, they are.
But at the time, they were just students. They looked like any other students.
Larry and Sergey ended up hiring her as their first marketing manager. She was Google employee 16. As the company grew, so did her role, and so did her family. She has 5 children. Google bought YouTube on her recommendation for over $1.6 billion, and 8 years later she became CEO with a mandate to make it grow and make it profitable. And she did. Its estimated worth is $160 billion.
Isn't that fascinating? So Susan Wojcicki, the former YouTube CEO, just accidentally, of course, happened to rent her garage to the Google founders, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, when they first got started with CIA seed money. They also accidentally, of course, her sister, Ann Wojcicki, married Sergey Brin, and she co-founded the direct-to-consumer DNA testing company 23andMe a year after they were married. Did you guys know that? Did you know that Susan Wojcicki's sister was the founder of 23andMe? This is DNA testing companies sell the genetic data and look into who is subsidizing the sequencing, making it much more affordable. One big happy coincidence. And Drew Tang Reborn tweeted, basically every, quote, startup from Silicon Valley is just run by a puppet who got handed DARPA tech and then provided cabal angel funding. The whole started in a garage thing is fan fiction. And yes, this is absolutely true. Remember, I told you guys before, when you're thinking about when you're looking at these different billionaires and such, all of their backstories basically are fan fiction. That was sorry, I'm trying to get my tabs lined up here. All these are fan fiction that is crafted for the sake of narrative control. Stream may be temporarily blocked. It didn't like me using that stream there. So the YouTube stream may go down in a second here. If it does, I stopped streaming that video, so it'll come back up again. I am streaming on X, so you can go over there if the stream stays down. It says we're still running here. Okay. I'm watching the stream on a delay and seeing if it's going to kick off here. Almost to the end of it, hoping it stays up. It's like a game of chicken here. How many of these clips can I play before YouTube gets mad? And here I'm shit talking the former CEO, so maybe they're extra mad. Euthanasia says you don't have that large of a company by luck or talent; it's imposed for sure. Yeah, so this is the case with. It's not possible in the world as it has existed for the last 80 years, something like that. It's just not possible to get to the level of billionaire or owner of some massive technology that is pervasive throughout the world without being bootstrapped by military interests effectively. All of this technology, the military technological innovation is way ahead of the commercial application. So by the time the commercial application actually appears, it's existed in the military, the dark military tech world for a long time. And it was granted, it was given to someone. And that someone now has a responsibility to manage, they're basically the front for that technology. This would be the case for every single major billionaire. I don't even think it would be physically possible to become a billionaire without something like this happening. Now that may end up, I don't think that this is going to be the case for the rest of all time. I think that it's the case for this current time in history. There's always the possibility that something will change down the line. For example, there's probably going to be a lot of people who are crypto guys, billionaires, the people who become effectively billionaires through crypto investments that weren't, they're using something that seems very obviously something originally conceived by military technology interests. But the fact that this is true doesn't you can't take it so far as to say, oh, well, then every single billionaire is fake and has no agency and is not in control of their own actions. I think there's been plenty of people like this who have very obviously either pulled back. I think of someone like Jack from Twitter, who seems like he's very much was lined up to be one of these people and was not comfortable or happy with it and has withdrawn. And then you've got someone like Elon, who has attained a level where where they need him at least as much as he needs them. Or he actually may have the cachet. He's the man of history who may have the ability to take the bull by the horns himself. That does not mean that he's going to be completely independent of all the other interests, but in this dance that they're engaged in, he's the one coming out ahead. I think Trump is similar. These are guys who have such singular characteristics. And some of it could be stuff related to them inherently, and some of it could be just the coincidences of history as it's played out, that they wind up becoming the great man and being able to actually throw their weight around more than just being a front man. And I would say the closer they are to truth and the more sincere and authentic of a person they are, their own character is a big determining factor here. So you can have good billionaires. I don't think that being a billionaire, being a cutout for whatever dark interests, inherently makes you bad. I think there's definitely good billionaires, but it comes down to their own personal character. And then you get little peeks at these occasionally. Let me catch up on some of these comments because you guys are flying this morning. Definitely BTC could change things, says DC Woodworking. Of course it applies to Elon. Yeah, I would say Elon is one of the most preeminent obvious examples of this. Like you could just do a little research into Elon's history and how some of his companies came about and everything, and you can see that this is very clearly the case for him. However, he is also singular in terms of his own personal character and capacity for productivity and his own wisdom that transcends that. This is why he's a singular billionaire. Like, what is it that makes him stand out above all the other billionaires? I'm sure, in part to do with what interests he's aligned with in the background. And then there's just something about him personally that makes him stand out, that makes him unique and singular among that crew. Okay. Warren Buffett would be another one that I would say seems very obviously astroturfed. Thomas Query says, you don't get to start a company launching rockets if you aren't in the satanic Illuminati orgy club. No chance. I think I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's entirely the case. I think the capacity to launch rockets is not inherently tied to the satanic Illuminati orgy club because of the military implications of it. And I think that a lot of the military implications, the military influences and the satanic Illuminati things, assuming these are one and the same, is oversimplified. I think they're obviously deeply intertwined with one another, but they're also not exclusively implicative of one another. Euthanasia says, I think we're seeing an ability with tech to leverage more value. The real metric to look at is number of employees. Really, how many people can one person control semi-directly, as we're told it works. These billions are also locked up in hard assets, so these people are controllable. Okay. So let's get on some Trump and JD Vance stuff here. I've got a couple of funny clips. And whoops, something's playing. Shut up. Don't need you yet. I got a comment from Oren McIntyre about Hyperstition. The Japanese news explaining the U.S. election. This will be a funny one. But first of all, speaking of sports ball, Antonio Brown is on his shit posting adventure yet again. So he's got his nigga of the week, hashtag CTESPN. And this is, you probably aren't going to be prepared for the answers that this guy gives. It's funny.
Or a dollar. Name your favorite 3 white people.
Travis.
Travis who?
My mechanic.
Oh, famous white people.
Travis, my mechanic.
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
And why him?
Cause he's a good actor.
Okay. 2 more people.
Hitler.
Hitler? Yeah, why Hitler?
Cause he the black people.
Hitler messed with the blacks.
Yeah.
Not the other race though.
Right.
The other race, yeah.
One more person.
Donald Trump, he like to get money.
Donald Trump be getting money.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. We out.
All that for $1, and he wanted to make sure he got his dollar. The guy interviewing him didn't even bat an eye either. Okay, so I just got one clip from the JD Vance. He did a bunch of interviews over the weekend. And you can go watch all of those if you want. I was going to sit here and run through all of them, but this one was particularly good, and then I like Indian Bronson's comment on it. So let's share the screen. Speaking of Indian Bronson, go listen to... Actually, let me see if I can just pull this up real quick and so you guys know what you're looking for. Indian Bronson was on the Moment of Zen podcast last week, and it's a really, really good conversation. This one right here. So the same show we watched Balaji Srinivasan on. He has Indian Bronson and then Hannah. I don't know who Hannah is, but very insightful. I liked her comments as well. Wading into a moral case for Trump. So he did a moral case for Biden with Noah Smith, the most insufferable person on the internet. And then he did a moral case for Trump with Indian Bronson. So it's very... The podcast is largely for normies. But... So it's directed at normies, but Indian Bronson was he was firing on all cylinders. It's the first time I've ever heard him talk. I've followed him on Twitter for a long time, and I've always enjoyed him. But after listening to him on this show, I wholeheartedly agreed with everything he had to say, and I really liked his vibe. So strongly recommend that. This is his. So we'll play this video of JD Vance and then get his comment on it. I wonder if this clip is going to get fucky if I try sharing it. We'll see. If the stream goes down on YouTube, as you guys know, just bear with me. As soon as it comes back around, as soon as it finishes, the stream on YouTube will come back up again. If you don't want it to be interrupted, then you can just go over to watch on X.
Well, John, we have to start with the fact that we have a wide open southern border because our border czar actually set a lot of open border policies. They suspended.
She's not actually. She wasn't the border czar.
Oh, that was what the media called her. She assumed the title. She had control over a lot of our border policy at a time.
What was the
when they were
suspending?
Let me finish, John. The time they were suspending deportations, they stopped Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, and they reinstituted catch and release. They basically threw open the gates of our country, and now we have a ton of fentanyl, a ton of people suffering.
But how are you going to get 10 to 15 to 20 million people
Well,
out
the
of
first thing you have to do is to stop the bleeding, stop the open border, get Kamala Harris out of there, and actually re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy, rebuild or finish Donald Trump's border wall, and you do that and you stop the bleeding. Now, you're right. Once you do that, once you stop Kamala Harris's open border policies, you've got to do something with the people who are already here, and I think that you take a sequential approach to it. You are going to have to deport some people. If you're not willing to deport a lot of people, you're not willing to have a border when there are 20 million illegal aliens in our country.
10 to 15 million people, this is like, I mean...
Well, John, I think it's the wrong attitude to take up. Okay,
so you go knock on doors and ask people for their papers.
Again, but I think this is the wrong attitude towards it, right? There's 20 million people here illegally. You You start with what's achievable, you do that, and then you go on to what's achievable from there. I think that if you deport a lot of violent criminals, and frankly, if you make it harder to hire illegal labor, which undercuts the wages of American workers, I think you go a lot of the way to solving the illegal immigration problem. But look, President Trump is absolutely right. You cannot have a border unless you're willing to deport some people. I think it's interesting that people focus on, well, how do you deport 18 million people? Let's start with 1 million. That's where Kamala Harris has failed, and then we can go from there.
So I got to say, I cannot wait for the vice presidential debates, whether it's Vance against Walz or whomever the actual vice president nominee for the Democrats is going to be. I can't wait to see it. Because the thing with Vance is when I think I've mentioned this before, when he's reading off of a teleprompter, he's not that great. He's kind of a little wooden, just doesn't come off naturally. But in conversation, he's very personable. He's very sharp, and he thinks on his feet really well. And this is another example. This one and the other interview we did with Dana Bash from CNN, I'm noticing a consistent trend with the way that he's relating to these people. He's very personable. He's polite but firm with them. But he serves as kind of where Trump tends to be more kind of aloof and hostile toward them. He's like, look, we're peers. Let's just relate to each other as human beings. Let's actually have a serious conversation here. And I think it comes off really well. I think that it's you can see that it's disarming to the people that he's talking to, because they always, when you're actually, we watch all of this happening on screens, and these people are just like sort of basically fictional characters to us for all intents and purposes. But like he goes, if they're going to do this interview, they're going to go sit down. Let me find find a spot where it's showing both of them here, right here at the end. Where is it? Here we go. So they've got a little studio here. They come in, they sit down, they're like chit-chatting with each other. They're just two dudes sitting down in a room. They've got producers and other people around them, I'm sure. And they sit here, they grab a drink, they small talk, whatever. All right, we're going to run the cameras and let's start talking. And then he's just going to relate to him just like a normal dude. He's just going to talk to him like, hey, we were just chit-chatting off camera and now we're talking here on camera. But can we actually be human beings? Can we not engage in this whole rigmarole? Can we just shoot straight and just talk to each other authentically and sincerely? And yet he's still going to challenge him, and he's still not going to let him get away with his bullshit. And being a young guy who's grown up in this whole media ecosystem and is very familiar with all the different aspects of it, obviously being tapped into a lot of circles of Twitter that Vance is tapped into, he's going to have he has the right context that he can bring to bear in these conversations, and he's sharp and he thinks well on his feet. So it makes it hard for them to be really openly hostile and combative with him on screen, like when they're literally face-to-face talking to each other. They can do that with Trump, but Vance is kind of disarming to them. So they can sort of throw out their token objections, but he just kind of swats them away and then still engages with them as a person. So I think once you start seeing Vance on like in the debates, and the general populace is really starting to see and engage with him a lot more, I think that his, whatever you think of his approval ratings or whatever, I just think people are generally going to respond very well to him. And then Indian Bronson says, quoting him, he says, it's interesting people start with, well, how do you deport 18 million? Let's start with 1 million. He said, hell yeah, when Americans experience a housing market and a labor market with 1 million fewer illegal aliens, they will overwhelmingly demand removing the rest. Okay, so the next thing we've got here, we've got a couple things on, well, first of all, let's do this this Japanese news explaining the U.S. election. I don't know if this is real, but but I hope it is. And even if it isn't, it's fucking hilarious. Trump and Vance connected to Yarvin. Yarvin has made Japanese news. And here's the rough translation. It says Trump supporters target the monarchy. It says this was broadcast on August 9 of 2024. So presumably it's presumably it's real, create the phenomenon. It says Vance is saying, I was influenced by him. Curtis Yarvin. He says, monarchy is necessary. Thinker, Curtis Yarvin. The plan is to make Mr. Humphrey a Caesar of the empire, like the ancient Roman Empire, and to hand over the baton to Mr. Putin. And it says something about Associate Professor Nicholas down here, Turosman. I don't know what that's a reference to. But Yarvin who influenced a Trump erection. So, shout out to Colin at the Cursed World Problems podcast. He sent this over to me this morning, and I was cracking up. All right, so there's been a lot of hullabaloo lately about Trump campaigning. We talked about this last week. Everyone is just dooming. Oh, he's not campaigning right. Oh, look at the polls. Oh, look at the numbers. Oh, look at the ad spend. Oh, there's nobody. They're vastly outspending Trump. Trump doesn't even want to win. It's a low energy campaign. Blah 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 blah. David Chapman here. I don't know who this is, but I liked his tweet. He says Trump isn't campaigning. People need to pay attention to what the Trump strategy is here. Trump and Vance is messaging through the media right now to fight the honeymoon. Vance on 3 Sunday shows today. Trump with Elon Musk on X tomorrow. This is campaigning in 2024. He just had one interview that's gotten over 100 million views. Event scheduled with Elon Musk. Event scheduled with Tucker Carlson. Event scheduled with Turning Point USA. Trump is playing this perfectly. All of the hullabaloo about Trump, the only thing that's low energy about the Trump ecosystem right now is all of the people complaining that the Trump ecosystem is low energy. If it wasn't the case, if there wasn't like an astroturfed group of people complaining about the Trump campaign being low energy, nobody would think the Trump campaign is low energy. Greetings, sir.
Hello. How
are you? I haven't talked to you in what seems like at least hours.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, we did have one text exchange, but it's been a few days, and I was thinking over the weekend, I got a little cranky with you, and it seems, distance or whatever, however it goes, distance makes the heart grow fonder. So I've intentionally avoided you for a day and a half because I wanted to have a pleasant reconnection.
Well, here I was oblivious that you got cranky with me. I didn't realize that had happened.
Well, I was cranky with you and Colin, and if I was not feeling well, and I was just cranky with everyone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. So you're feeling better now?
Yeah. It turns out like I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was just a freak thing because I did that stream with Meta, and I stayed up really late that night, and I also hadn't slept well the previous few days, and I have like anytime I go an extended period of time without sleeping well, I get this like sinus infection that lasts like 12 hours or whatever. So I figured it was just that, but then now the rest of my family's sick, so it seems like it was a real thing. Oh,
you got them sick?
Well, someone got me sick, so I blame them.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, well done. You're bringing home the sickness.
I have this is actually a good time to have jumped in because I remember reading this particular thread on Twitter, the one that you just read of the dude talking about the Trump, and I have to ask, Matt, because my sensibilities are inclined to agree with everything that guy said, but is this just cope? Are we just coping?
Coping about what?
They're like, okay. I think it's over. When you get the doomers who are like, oh, Trump isn't campaigning, I think they're overdoing it. But the idea that like, no, actually, he is campaigning. He's just doing it differently. Do you think that's just cope? Or do you think he's actually...
I think it's true. I don't think it's cope.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, at this point in history, given who Donald Trump is, given who Kamala Harris is, do you really think that like the difference in the election is going to be who has the most Facebook ads?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
that's what I was thinking.
If anything, the more that they spam Kamala ads, the more unlikable she is.
And our fearless leader is back on Twitter as of today.
Indeed. So you have Trump doing this documentary series with Tucker, the most popular podcast on the planet. You have Trump doing an interview, coming back on Twitter, doing an interview with Elon Musk, So like the two most famous men on the planet are going to be doing an interview on the town square for the internet. And it just so happens to be the week of the DNC as well, where the DNC is going to be a fucking tire fire of backstabbing, and who knows what's actually going to come out of it.
So do you think the Trump campaign is intentionally kind of laying on the low so that the DNC or the regime doesn't have something to redirect attention to?
I think so, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So it's on like the tire fire is on full display, and it's just best to maybe take a step back and let them burn for a bit. Don't give them anything to divert.
Yes. And I even reject the premise that the Trump campaign isn't doing anything, that they're not actively like. I'm trying to figure out all of these people who are posting about, they're not doing anything. He's not doing anything. What's your evidence for he's not doing anything? I see him all over the place. He's coming back on Twitter. He's doing this thing with Tucker. He was out with Bryson DeChambeau. He did the thing with Aiden Ross. He's been all over the place. Vance is doing all of these press tours. What do you mean he's not doing anything? The only evidence that he's not doing anything is all of the right-wingers saying he's not doing anything.
For real. What are they comparing that to, though? Like, that he's not doing like 2 rallies every day?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like the 80-year-old man isn't, in addition to all the other stuff he's doing, he's also not doing multiple rallies every single day that the media is not even going to report on in the first place. So
unless they're trying to kill him, then they'll be there.
Yeah. Well, and that's a factor as well. Yeah, right.
That's a good point. He did get shot in the face. So
right.
Maybe
and then
he's taking a step back from the rallies.
And then you have the same people who will say, it's not going to matter because the election's going to be fortified. So if the election's going to be fortified, then why does it even matter if he campaigns at all? You can't have both of these things be true at the same time. That he needs to be massively outspending them and dumping dollars into big tech companies to post ads on social media that nobody watches anyways. Nobody wants to see. Everyone's just looking for a way to skip the ad.
Yeah, well, the idea that you need to spend $1 gajillion or whatever for campaigning, I don't think you need to in 2024. Honestly, I was just talking about this in the Discord. If the frickin' Michigan GOP would give me their Twitter account and pay me like, I don't know, 20 grand, it'd be cheaper than anybody else they could find, and I would take them to the moon in a day. Like, all you have to do is pay some chump change to some Zoomer, and you're good. That's the cost of campaigning these days.
Uh-huh. Faithful Faustian says, if you watch his speeches, you know everything they're saying is a lie. He's preaching mass migrations, and Vance constantly mentions Trump taking a bullet for us. This is the message. Yeah, all of these people who are endlessly hand-wringing and spurging out about Trump not campaigning enough, well, why don't you spend all of your time cutting up videos and making promotional material for the campaign? Do that yourself. You've got huge audiences where every single thing you tweet gets millions of impressions. So why aren't you the one making all of this content that you think the campaign isn't making or should be making? These are people who I'm trying to remember who it was that said it, but there was someone who said that a lot of these guys they will be better off if Trump doesn't win because they thrive on the dooming. The worse things are, the better they are because they get to campaign on that. Okay. Yeah, Cooper's audio was low. I tried to pull it up a little bit. I may need to pull it up higher again. We have no way of balancing our audio ourselves apart from just whatever feedback you guys give me. Magoo says all of the people complaining must not live in a swing state. I see evidence of Trump's campaign daily here in Georgia. So, okay, there you go. So we got someone actually in a swing state who's seeing it all over the place. I honestly, sincerely think the vast majority of the people who are tweeting hand-wringing about Trump not campaigning well enough or that Trump's campaign is low energy or whatever, I think they're doing it because they see other people doing it. I think some people started tweeting about it, and so other people That, or it's actually an explicitly coordinated campaign to demoralize. We talked about the DeSantoid doomers, the DeSantoid doomer dweebs. They're terminally online. Yeah, avoid the black pillars. I got a thing here from Oren. So Oren quote tweeted, leading report says, breaking, Trump's VP pick, Senator J.D. Vance, says the Trump administration will start mass deportations with 1 million people. Oren says, rookie numbers, but it's a start. This guy says, never happened. If this even vaguely actually started, you'd find that entire sections of cities would become Chaz zones that states would basically refuse to cooperate with feds to get into. It'd turn into a PR nightmare to clear every block. This is the black pillar. Oren says, stop blackpilling on what can't be done. No real solutions are currently politically feasible, so hyperstition is key. Now, this term, hyperstition, this is a Landian coinage. He says, Trump was unelectable until his election was inevitable. Meme magic, gentlemen. Bo Darville says, we can, in fact, speak these things into existence, and Oren says, we already have. And this is what, I've used the term manifest, like we can manifest these realities. Hyperstition is technically the term for this. There's a definition of it down here. It's a term used to describe self-fulfilling prophecies that come true through their existence and spread. This is coined by Nick Land. I think if we could get this into people's heads, the reality of hyperstition, it would be a great win. You can make these things possible by talking about them as if they're possible. My opinion for a while now has been that the election is going to be decided in the courts. That's how it's going to happen. I think no matter how the actual count goes itself, no matter who actually votes or how the vote actually happens, it's going to be lawfare that determines it. And that lawfare is not going to be based on just just an honest assessment of the legal implications. Ultimately, it's going to be determined by public sentiment, by the public belief of what is and what could be, unburdened by what has been. Oh, no. The belief of what is and what could be, and where it seems that power lies. Which one seems more real? Which one seems more plausible? In order to make that plausible, if you want Trump to have a low energy campaign, you astroturf a bunch of influencers saying Trump has a low energy campaign, and then everyone perceives him as having a low energy campaign, which then means he has a low energy campaign. On the flip side, if you have all these influencers talking about how amazing his campaign is and making edits, schizo edits and memes and cranking all this stuff out, you will manifest a high energy campaign no matter what the actual campaign is. This is part of being human. This is what we do. We manifest the impossible. We make it possible through our own minds and our own behavior, our own actions that we choose to take. Cooper, are you familiar with the term hyperstition?
Is it like superstition, but on ecstasy?
Sort of, yeah. It's a Landian neologism.
Of course it is. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all.
A term we've just been talking about it here, but I'll catch you up on it. It's a term used to describe self-fulfilling prophecies that come true through their existence and spread. This was Oren's. This guy was blackpilling in Oren's replies, and Oren said, stop blackpilling on what can't be done. No real solutions are currently politically feasible, so hyperstition is key. Basically, meme magic. He said, Trump was unelectable until his election was inevitable. Meme magic, gentlemen.
Have you heard of, this is a weird little internet subculture I just learned about? The Discordians?
Discordians?
Yeah. I think they're tangentially related to the accelerationists, but like even more esoteric, where they're into a bunch of like chaos magic and stuff like that. And they see memes as being a form of magic. And yeah, they're trying to, I don't know, cause discord, and they're kind of accelerationists, but I think more black-pilled, or maybe like nihilistic, just kind of annihilate. what does Father Seraphim Rose call it? Like the whatever of annihilation.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. It's nihilism. It's not annihilation. It's
The nihilism of destruction.
Yes, nihilism of destruction. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's kind of that.
Okay.
Yeah, Kek, the god of chaos. That sounds right. It could just all be a total meme. It could just be a 4chan thing.
Many such cases.
Yeah.
And looking this up, I'll pull this up on the screen. Screen share. Discordianism.
I was on a weird corner of the internet the other day.
Discordianism is a belief system based around Eris, the Greek goddess of strife and discord, and variously defined as a religion, new religious movement, virtual religion, or act of social commentary. Though prior to 2005, some sources categorize it as a parody religion, it was founded after the 1963 publication of its holy book, Principia Discordia, written by Greg Hill with Carrie Wendell Tomley, the two working under the pseudonyms Malaclips the Younger and Omar Khayyam Ravenhurst.
Those are some badass names, dude.
David Chidester considers Discordianism to be the first virtual religion and the first to take up the challenge of establishing its religious authenticity. When the Yahoo search engine categorized Discordianism as a parody religion in May 2001, Discordians started an email campaign to get the religion reclassified. It is difficult to estimate the number of Discordians because they're not required to hold Discordianism as their only belief system.
Very postmodern.
Very, yeah. Principia Discordia. Huh. It often hints that Discordianism was founded as a dialectic antithesis to more popular religions based on order, although the rhetoric throughout the book describes chaos as a much more underlying impulse of the universe. This may have been done with the intention of merely balancing out the creative forces of order and disorder, but the focus is on the more disorderly aspects of the world. At times, the forces of order are even vilified. There are other religions that revere the principles of harmony and order in the universe, but few that show a respect for the disorder which we all face. Huh, interesting. I'm gonna have to dig into that one more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Hyperstition. Hyperstition is the technical term, the dictionary term for meme magic. All of the black pillars are actively manifesting the thing that they're blackpilling about. I mean, think about the fact that the official policy of the Trump campaign, written down all over the place, was all over the RNC, is mass deportations. You have a major political party that is talking about as one of its fundamental platforms mass deportations. And everybody wants to sit around here and autistically bury themselves in their own belly buttons, arguing about, well, is it actually going to be that many? They're not going to do it. By the fact of you doing that, you are increasing the possibility that that will happen.
Yeah, and this is just another manifestation of that libertarianism, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. Like, let's suppose we don't mass deport. What if we just closed the border and there was no longer infinity migrants coming in? Would that not be better than the current state of things? Would you take that? Or, like, because, I mean, America's a really big country. It would not be good and it wouldn't be ideal, but I think if we closed the border now, all of the illegals that are here now, we could probably adapt to that. We could probably handle it. Unlike places like England and stuff like that are just overrun.
You're going to trigger the Spurgs here.
Oh, yeah, I know. They're going to get mad.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. It'd be great if we could just send them all back. But even if we just, close the border and then cut in half the number that's coming in right now, which is infinity, so half of infinity is probably better. I don't know how math works. I don't know. I mean, I would take that over nothing.
Right. Like this is literally the way that elections work. You're going to get one option or you're going to get the other one. And the other one is acceleration of infinity migrants. Can you have infinity migrants accelerating? I don't know. You're going to get acceleration of that. You're going to get no closed border whatsoever. That's one option.
Yeah, right.
The other option is something less than that. Something less than that is better than that. And in order to get something more than that something less, more in the good direction, you have to first get that. So right now we have this point in time that's going to be the great divider that determines which direction we're going to go going forward. Vaguely. It's going to be either more of the same or some moderated version. I will take the some moderated version over more of the same. And once we get that some moderated version, then we meme what we want into reality by creating the demand for it, by making that a reality through manifesting it hyperstitiously. Meme magic is a real thing, and it cuts both ways.
I just realized that, so I was trying to do a thing with my name here, keeping up with the Kardashians. I was trying to do a portmanteau between Kardashians and shenanigans, and I realized I put an extra I in there, so sorry guys, I failed to deliver. Totally botched it.
Fucking retard. Unfortunately, you can't edit your name at all.
The good thing about like a portmanteau or a neologism is I can just say whatever, it's whatever I want it to be. So I intended that I to be there.
Yeah, right. I thought it might be a reference to the Backyardigans.
Oh, yeah, there's layers to this, man.
Oh, yeah.
Turtles all the way down.
Straight Buster says, my algorithms are inundated with anti-immigration memes, so I think the magic winds are blowing favorably. That's right. And Andrew, politically Catholic, says, Trump is already spending tens of millions on lawfare in the swing states. He's preemptively suing to get rid of any vectors for fortification shenanigans. I also just saw something that dropped. I don't think I opened it, but Trump announced that he's planning a $100 million lawsuit against the DOJ for the Mar-a-Lago raid. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening. Most of the talking heads aren't paying any attention to that because, frankly, most of them are retarded and they don't know any better. They just happen to have large audiences, so people assume they're authoritative. And the fact that they have large audiences then makes them authoritative. This is another hyperstition. So don't participate in this black pilling. If you want Trump to have a high-energy campaign, start talking about Trump having a high-energy campaign. Treat him as if he has a high-energy campaign. We can meme these things into reality, but the black pillars do not want that. The black pillars want you to doom. They want you demoralized. They want you fearing the worst. Maybe some of these guys are like galaxy braining this is like, oh well, if I make things seem bad enough, it's going to make people desperate, so then they'll actually go out and vote or something. No, it doesn't work that way. If people are demoralized, they don't act. You want people to be moralized and energized. All of these fucking influencers who just want to counter signal and doom and demoralize, they got to go too. I don't care what your actual immigration status is, you got to go. So this was the first thing.
But what about the women and children, Matt?
Which ones?
The immigrant ones.
Well,
your crocodile tears, man.
Well, you know, maybe we could figure something out here where we create like a particular class that doesn't necessarily have they don't really get to cast votes. You know, but they do have jobs that they can do, and maybe each family can be assigned a laborer to help them with their jobs and to maintain the chores around the house, and you know give them a good life. They can have a little cot in the corner, you know.
Yeah.
That's better than getting, I don't know, R-worded by some cartel goon. You just give them a little cot in the corner, and
they'd probably take that over the mud hut and the cartel goon.
CB says they get the air-conditioned bus. Yeah, no, the labor's, it's not free. It's not free. They get paid by the cot. Like the cot is their pay.
Yeah, the room and board is the labor.
It's called alpha tunneling, not retard tunneling. Our chat is so good. Okay, so Trump, as you might have heard, is back on Twitter.
I'd even be happy. Okay, politically Catholic Andrew. He says, "Don't worry about the women and children. Go for the young single men." I would actually take that compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like so would all the children and the hot Latinas and whatever. Okay, We'll figure out something for them. The dudes, get out of here.
I will take anything that is an improvement on the current state of things.
Yeah, right.
Literally anything. If we can get an improvement on the current state of things, then we can push for another improvement. And then we can push for another improvement. And then we can push for another improvement. I will take incrementalism over nothing. And you're mad. You're absolutely mad in the British sense if you want to argue and bitch about. What that tells me, if you want to piss and moan about, oh, it's not good enough, you don't actually think things are as bad as they are. You think that this is a time where we can like debate and argue and cross our arms and stomp our feet in the corner and yeah. You must not realize what time it is if you think that we have the luxury of that right now.
Yeah, as Javier Oliva says, if we can remove birthright citizenship, much of this resolves itself. Yeah, I mean, I would take that.
Right. And they're even talking about this. Will it actually happen? I don't know. But they're talking about it, which is an improvement over not talking about it.
Yeah, right.
So when you get an improvement, then you can what's his name? The Pavlov. You can like Pavlov this shit. When they do the stuff that you want them to do, you reward them by giving them props and positively memeing them. It's very easy. And that's much more powerful than when they do the thing you don't want them to do, bitching at them about it. When they do the thing you don't want to do, shut the fuck up and don't say anything.
Do you think you could, do you think since, someone's going to have control of the money printer, do you think, like, if you just printed a bunch of money, just like and gave it to them and so like, okay, here's money, get out of here. Do you think like all of them getting out of here would offset the cost of the printed money? And then we could just clean slate, go forward?
I've said before, there is so the amount of money that's being flushed into, I don't know, like studying the mating practices of queer quail or something is
yeah, right.
You could literally give every undocumented immigrant like $5,000 or something, and it would be it's just like moving a budget item from here to there. Just
yeah, right.
Pay them to go away. We can afford it. Okay, so this was Trump's first post last night, and it was funny. All these people on Twitter who apparently don't know how Twitter works, they went and they saw this, and then they went and they checked his timeline, and they're like, oh, it's not on his timeline. What's going on? Is there funny business? It's an ad. He posted an ad, okay? He says, are you better off now than you were? Actually, no, this wasn't the first one. This was the first one, I think. Hold on, 10:19 a.m.
This is the first one I saw.
This was, no, this was the first one. Yeah, 1:54 a.m. Okay, so let's watch this first. Oh, shit, come on. Let me play it.
Please welcome President Ronald Reagan, who has a few questions for you.
All of you will go to the polls, who stand there in the polling place and make a decision.
Oh, I haven't seen
I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world as it was? Do you feel that our security is as safe, that we're as strong as we were 4 years ago? If you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice that you have.
President Trump. He'll make America great again.
This is boomer bait.
Oh, yeah. He posted it on Twitter. What is this now? 11 hours ago. He's got 22 million views on this ad. And then, was this the one? Yeah. So John Doyle. How the hell? I don't know how I'm following as many people as I am because I've been unfollowed from so many people I was following. It doesn't make any sense to me. He says, what a fantastic ad. I trust that all of the black pillars will now simply stop complaining, and certainly they will not just move on to something else. Nope. They'll definitely just move on to something else because their purpose is blackpilling. These people have to be cut out. They can't be reasoned with. They can't be argued with. They need to be mocked, shunned, and abolished from the internet. And then Just before I went live here, Trump tweeted out another video. This is probably the one that you've seen.
Trump has left the building.
We can now project the winner of the presidential race. Donald Trump wins the presidency.
What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality.
I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
We have a president who actually fulfilled the promises he made during the campaign, securing the border to foreign policy.
He now has a record as president that's pretty damn impressive.
Breaking news out of Palm
The
Beach,
FBI
Florida.
has executed an unprecedented search warrant at President Donald Trump's
against a
Mar-a-Lago
former
estate.
president has both sides of the political aisle up
is
in
a
arms.
dangerous and unstable moment in American history.
The Justice Department has just indicted former President Donald Trump.
For 7 years, they hated him, they targeted him, they hunted him.
This is the epitome of the abuse of the prosecutorial power to preempt political decisions.
I never thought anything like this could happen in America. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back our country, and we will make America great again. America will always rise to every challenge and overcome every danger.
Donald Trump seems to always get stronger when challenged. These types of things, I think, give him strength.
When I'm reelected, I will totally obliterate the deep state. As long as we have pride in our beliefs, courage in our convictions, and faith in our God, then we will not fail.
How about that?
I don't know, man. Is that low energy to you? This low energy campaign ad?
Yeah, I'm gonna go take a nap.
The first one being boomer bait. I saw a lot of people complaining about this, and what you guys got to realize is there's still a lot of boomers out there. The boomers are a really, really big demographic. When you see something like this, if you see a boomer bait Trump ad, like there's this, okay, what I was talking about earlier about being like this like end of history thing where we get really trapped in the moment. Like every single thing we see is like, we've got like the attention span of a hummingbird. Like every single thing we see is like the thing right now. And so someone will see a boomer ad and they'll be like, oh, he's appealing to the boomers. Oh, he just got a stupid boomer messaging and all the boomers ruined everything. And
isn't like the boomers, isn't that like most of the voters are
right?
boomers?
Yeah. It's probably, I think it's still the biggest voting bloc. I mean, it depends on turnout from the younger generations, but
yeah. Well, they always bet on like, well, if we can get the younger people to vote, it just doesn't happen.
I mean, eventually the younger generations are going to become more civically active because that's what happens as you get older.
Maybe or maybe not.
I'm not that optimistic. I don't think that we're gonna have like people be completely checked out of the system forever. I think they're going to be, as they get older, they're going to be more politically active. This was the case for me when I was younger. I didn't really care.
I think it's kind of the opposite for me. Like the more, I suppose, I mean, it could change, but I don't anticipate I'm going to be particularly politically active. I don't have any intention of it. I don't really care that much. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, either way, I mean, eventually this is just like a temporal reality. Like when the boomers die, the larger voting blocks is going to be the younger generation.
That's okay. Good point.
Yeah. But here's the thing. When Trump does stuff, when he goes to the National Association of Black Journalists, oh, he's pandering to the blacks. When Trump goes on Aiden Ross, oh, he's pandering to the stupid Zoomers. when Trump goes,
no,
when
he's
Trump
pandering to the white. He's pandering to the white boomer women.
Yeah, well, when Trump makes a boomer ad, oh, he's just pandering to the boomers. This is what a fucking political campaign is. You go pander to different voting demographics. This is literally the purpose of a political campaign. The response to it says far more about the people responding than it does about Trump or his campaign. And, again, Hyperstition, if you see this and your gut response to it is, that's kind of pandery boomer stuff, you could go, wow, look at that. He's pandering to the boomers. This is great. This is fantastic. It's very good that he's pandering to the boomers. The boomers are a big voting bloc. The boomers love Reagan. The boomers love the idea of Trump reviving Reagan's legacy. The way that it is received depends on how the people who receive it choose to receive it, which seems kind of like a truism, but the people, if the mass response to this is, oh, it's boomer bait. Oh, stupid Trump, just going after the boomers. Who cares about the boomers? Fuck the boomers. We need edgy right-wing stuff, not like boomer pablum. You are now manifesting that reality that Trump is only doing boomer pablum and he's not doing all the other stuff. Or you can respond to it and manifest the reality where Trump is actually really doing well appealing to the boomers. He's also doing really well appealing to the blacks. He's also doing really well appealing to the young white guys. He's also doing really well appealing to the soccer moms. The truth of each of those propositions is determined by the way the general populace receives it. And each one of us is a little part of that general populace. Human beings are very impressionable. The vast majority of people aren't going to look at that and go with their gut response. They're going to look at it and then they're going to go see who the people that they trust the most, what their response is to it, and then they're going to embody that. Oh yeah. You know, like I don't know. Glenn Beck said it was great, so I think it's great, or whatever.
Right.
One line in here that was just a banger I wanted to pull out again. This one right here.
Certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You're wrong. The more certain you should be that you must. The crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead.
The more a broken system tells you you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you should keep pushing ahead. That's whoever's writing those speeches for him is very, very good. I think that's from the 2020 campaign, if I remember right. Okay. So now we've got some stuff from the other side.
I might have to check out here.
Tim Walz is going to bring in the rural vote from Jay Weber.
I'm happy to talk shit about Tim Walz, but if I have to hear Kamala talking, I'm out.
Oh, I don't think I have any clips of her talking.
Okay, good deal.
But I thought this was funny. This is being passed off, at least. I don't know if it's actually true, but I kind of assume it is. Rural Minnesota. Government Walz is a dickwad. I love rural America.
Me too.
This was interesting. So this is from 4 days ago. All of a sudden, you've got Gavin Newsom. He's currently cleaning up a homeless encampment in Mission Hills. This physical labor from Newsom comes just 2 weeks after he issued an executive order demanding that state officials tear down homeless camps. Homelessness is a big business in California in general, especially in Southern California. There are a lot of people who get very, very rich off of campaigning, lobbying for the homeless, and the homeless problem gets bigger and bigger. Newsom appears to be fed up with how slow LA County is moving on the project, decided to put on the gloves himself. Yeah, no, that's not what happened here.
Yeah, right.
This is 100% a photo op. I guarantee you he spent, 38 seconds? He spent probably 98 seconds out there, and then they clipped it down into this.
I bet he has really soft hands.
Oh, gotta get him with the cart.
Somebody clip that him walking with a cart and like do an edit where he's a homeless junkie.
Get some guy. We lived in Southern California for a little while, and Amy, one of her worst experiences down there was she was at I think it was the Santa Monica Pier. She was walking along, and with one of her kids that she worked with in tow. She's a behaviorist. She's hauling this autistic kid down the Santa Monica Pier, and there was some junkie sitting there with one shoe on, like slumped off to the side, just jacking it. Just middle of the morning, like, I don't know, 11 in the morning or something like that, just cranking away on his hog. So if you could get a video of something like that and just put Gavin Newsom's face on it, that would be great. Cernovich said he wants the VP nod. Walz is bleeding and Gavin is a shark. I think there's something to that. And I think that the DNC is going to be... I've been saying all along, I don't know that Kamala is actually going to be the nominee. I think, and then Walz has been just an absolute tire fire. They're just hanging them out to dry completely, and they're focused on 2028, and they're trying to eliminate they don't want to be stuck with Kamala long term, so they want to hang her out to dry, give her some shitty VP that's just an absolute clusterfuck, and just dump them on the altar of Donald Trump and just go into full obstruction mode and wait for 2028. I think there's a good chance of that, but I also think that there are people like Gavin Newsom who want to angle for the nomination, and I think there's probably going to be an actual fight at the DNC. And it's going to be interesting to watch because they've got to keep it up for the media. They got to keep like the smile on their face and acting like everything's just fine, but they're going to be like under the table, like trying to shank each other, and everything's great. It's going to be pretty entertaining to see how it pans out.
Do you think Gavin Newsom would actually? Do you think he'd be? I don't check in on the normies and the shit libs too often. Do they really like him? Do the white liberal women like him? Because he's the guy responsible for just torching the land of milk and honey.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Do you think he could pull it off?
I think the white liberal women...
He's a slick talker.
I think
and he's handsome.
The white liberal women would like him, but I think he would get absolutely trashed in the Midwest. I think that...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is what is going to ultimately determine the outcomes of everything. So, like, I don't think... I think he'd get hosed by the swing states because a lot of them are going to have total contempt for him being from California just in general, and then being Gavin Newsom, obviously like a sociopathic creep. I just can't see him actually doing well in the Midwest. And honestly, the fact that he would be, I don't know, let me think about this for a second. So you have... The problem that they had was they had Biden with Kamala. They needed Biden out, but they couldn't just toss Kamala because she's the black woman and yada, yada, yada. So they're stuck with Kamala. So if they want another candidate, the only way that they could do that would be to sandbag Kamala and try to insert someone in at the last minute. So you might end up getting like a Newsom Whitmer ticket or something like that.
The two of the worst people on the planet.
Just absolute sociopaths, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you're dealing with fact that...
I think Gretchen Whitmer is even harder to listen to than Kamala Harris. And maybe that's just because I'm from Michigan. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm biased, but if it takes me like 3 seconds to turn off an ad by Kamala Harris, it'd take me half that time for Gretchen Whitmer.
You definitely got a lot more personal hard feelings related to her.
I remember the lockdowns in Michigan.
Not in a good way. Mm-hmm.
Bitch.
We got 139 watching on YouTube right now, 55 likes. Please, folks. It's very simple. Hit the like button. So related to this idea of the internal war within the Democrat Party, this is an interesting clip from Nancy Pelosi.
I didn't accept the letter as anything but a letter. I mean...
So this is her talking about Joe Biden's resignation letter. Barely keep her teeth in her mouth.
I mean, there are some people who were unhappy with the letter. Let me say, some said that some people were unhappy with the letter. I'll put it in somebody else's mouth. Because it was I don't even know, it didn't sound like Joe Biden to me. It really didn't. So...
Do you think she has gin in that mug?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. She sounds hammered every single time I hear her talk. And I don't know if that's just because, like, her teeth are falling out, but her fake teeth, her dentures. But it is funny. You see a little bit of the media working there where she says, what was it? Some said, I think he actually says it up here. She said some, let me just play it again.
Said that some people were unhappy.
Yeah.
Let me say,
so she says it, and then she's like, hold on a second. Let me get a better quote for you. Some said that some people think it doesn't sound like him. She's I'm going to put it in somebody else's mouth. I don't know if she didn't realize she's on camera, doesn't realize she's doing like a video interview where her actual phrasing doesn't really matter. But so War Clandestine here says Nancy pretty much just admitted that Joe was overthrown unwillingly. But to me, it seems like she's setting the stage for Biden to rescind that letter and get back in the race. She says she never accepted it as anything but a letter and said it didn't sound like Biden. Maybe I'm reading too much into Drunk Nancy's ramblings, or maybe Trump knows something we do not, and Biden actually is trying to get back in the race. Because Trump posted on True Social something to this effect, that Biden was pushed out and didn't want to be, and that he's going to, at the DNC, he's going to make another run for the nomination. Biden just said he's about to go back on the campaign trail to support Kamala. Is this true, or is he just auditioning to regain the favor of the DNC elite and win back his delegates before the convention? All it takes is a phone call, and the delegates will pledge to whomever they're told. The DNC internal war might not be over. Trump might be onto something about Biden wanting back in the race. And this was Trump's post. He said, what are the chances that crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the U.S., whose presidency was unconstitutionally stolen from him by Kamala, Barack Hussein Obama, crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, and others on the lunatic left, crashes the Democratic National Convention and tries to take back the nomination, beginning with challenging me to another debate. He feels that he made a historically tragic mistake by handing over the U.S. presidency, a coup, to the people in the world he most hates, and he wants it back now. I really want to understand why does world get a capital W here? Why does unconstitutionally get a capital U? I don't.
Hussein.
Yeah, he always calls him Barack Hussein Obama. Comma blah. And then here was Biden's.
Look, the polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did so, and I thought it'd be a real distraction. Look, I thought it'd be.
Look at this schmuck. He's just sitting there.
Man, assuming that's actually Joe Biden. Wow, man.
Uh-huh.
And this is him hopped up on something.
Yes. Sounds disgruntled and sleepy. Yeah. Guarantee you he feels betrayed, or his camp does anyways. Yeah, absolutely. And I've been saying from the beginning, I don't think it's going to be Kamala. I don't think. Now, I should maybe amend that to say that I don't think it's going to be Kamala unchallenged. There's a possibility that in the whole outworking of everything, she comes out the other side. But I think there's going to be a significant challenger to the ticket, which is going to be, I mean, I can't even imagine the electoral effect of you have the Crypt Keeper president who gets cooed out for his VP, who's historically unpopular. She picks this creepy, fat, old stolen valor dude to come in, who immediately gets just drowned in scandal. Then they go to the DNC, and then there's a challenger ticket that comes and unseats them, and then they have a new ticket. I guess the sales pitch with the new ticket would be, we were actually democratically nominated, whereas Kamala and Walz were not. But now you've got to, so you have the whole big Kamala phenomenon, or whatever the whole big thing was, that the big push, she's going to be the nominee and everything, and then she gets swapped out and you get another person in there. I just don't see how this is. Anybody who's saying, "Oh, see, the polls say that it's neck and neck," or Kamala's just ahead, you're a fucking retard. The polls don't matter. Stop hanging on the polls. Who cares what the polls say? They're so obviously fake. There is no possible way that the numbers are actually that. Actually, the way the polls are, they're oversampled, they're selectively sampled. When was the last time you answered a poll? Any one of you? There's 381 people between X and YouTube right now. Has a single one of you ever answered a political poll in your life?
No.
And these are supposedly like samplings of the populace? This is madness. Stop fucking blackpilling. Yes.
Crypt keeper. That's good, man. I like that. That tickled me.
Haven't in 10 years, not once ever. I did last month, but it was for my local election in state. Only with a middle finger emoji. Duffhead. The election fortification thing is going to come down to public sentiment. In 2021, the reason the election fortification stuff worked was because public sentiment was aligned behind the idea that one side openly fortifying an election and having that be sanctioned and like stamped into the narrative was unconscionable. The Supreme Court didn't want anything to do with that, because at the time in history we were at that point, having the Supreme Court come in and say, no, actually, there was voter squad is what we used to call it. Maybe we'll call it that again. There was massive voter squad, and the fallout from that, there was no political will to actually chase down the implications of that. Now, it's much more likely that that will could be there today, but it's going to come down to public sentiment and narrative building between now and then. The actual numbers are not going to matter. The actual legal doctrines are not going to matter. What's going to matter is the perception of public sentiment and who it seems has the most institutional power behind winning out. This is just the reality of how the system works right now. So everyone who's blackpilling on any front now, whether you're blackpilling about election fortification or blackpilling about not enough campaign ads or blackpilling about whatever, all you're doing is contributing to the possibility that when all of this goes to the courts, it's not going to wind up the way you want it to.
How are the Groypers doing?
Oh, fuck them, man. The worst people on the planet.
Yeah.
Apparently Milo is going nuclear on them. I haven't seen anything from today, but...
Yeah, I've been seeing that the past few weeks.
He is... I would not want to be on his bad side. We'll say that. Okay. Next story we've got here. Speaking of voter squad. Exclusive. In a newly discovered Zoom recording, the Biden-Harris team reveals how they manipulated voters to think Biden's mental decline was disinformation. Now we're going to tread on some dangerous territory here, so hopefully the YouTube channel survives this. But from Hope Not Hate, says we're getting started with tonight's webinar, hearing from Rob Flaherty, Bex Rink, and Timothy Durrigan about how the Biden campaign tracked and countered disinformation during the presidential campaign. Biden-Harris digital director Rob Flaherty says the DNC created a program to detect, track, and censor what it deemed misinformation, like Biden's mental decline. He calls it critical and one of the more important decisions made by the party in recent years. So this is the Biden-Harris digital director. These are your enemies that you're so fearful of.
Look at him.
Listen to him.
One of the smartest things that I think the party did itself was over the last couple of years, they actually invested in a team that Tim runs, and you'll hear from Tim, to detect and track.
Detect and track. Guy sounds like a fucking gremlin.
Misinformation and misinformation narratives in the sort of various corners of the internet. And then actually go out and flag it to platforms as a violation of their policy. And
that
so,
sort of uptalk thing.
Uh-huh.
Talking like a chick.
This is when you're posting online and you're dooming. This is who you're embodying. This guy. You are becoming a digital manifestation of this guy.
That work, I mean, the stuff that they did was a critical asset. That piece of infrastructure, I think, was one of the more important decisions that was made in sort of the party space over the last couple of years.
Emails show Flaherty carrying out the supposedly counter-misinformation program in the White House, pushing Facebook to censor Tucker Carlson for correctly saying the COVID-19 vaccine didn't stop transmission, and Tomi Lahren for her strong "my body, my choice" stance. So, reading from the emails here, he's emailing from his .gov email address to Andy Slavitt, subject Tucker. He says, since we've been on the phone, the top post about vaccines today is Tucker Carlson saying they don't work. Yesterday was Tomi Lahren saying she won't take one. This is exactly why I want to know what reduction actually looks like. If reduction means pumping our most vaccine-hesitant audience with Tucker Carlson saying it doesn't work, then I'm not sure it's reduction. And the response was, thanks. I saw the same thing when we hung up, running this down now. So this is someone from Facebook replying. Despite leading the Biden White House's efforts to censor misinformation, when asked under oath to define misinformation, Flaherty refused. So this is him with Jim Jordan.
Told Americans that the vaccinated couldn't get the virus. Were they guessing or lying?
Congressman, I think first of all, it's important to remember my role in this discussion, which is as a communicator on behalf of
You work for the Biden administration, assistant to the president. It's a simple question. When they told the American people that if you get the vaccine, you will not get the virus, was that a guess or was that a lie?
Congressman, we were communicating on behalf of the administration. We were communicating the best information provided by some of the best medical scientists in the world in Atlanta, Bethesda, and beyond. Our role is...
Let me ask you a simple question. Can the people who got the vaccine, could they still get the virus?
Congressman, again, I'm not here as a medical expert.
No, that's as common. Everyone knows that. Of course they can. I'm just asking you a simple question. Well, let me do it this way. What's the definition of misinformation?
Congressman, certainly there's different and varying definitions of mis and disinformation. At the end of the day, the platform...
Tell me the difference. Tell me what misinformation is.
Congressman, these are decisions that the platforms ultimately get to make about how
I'm not asking that. I'm a simple question. What's misinformation?
These are decisions the platforms get to make. We just saw this email here of him pressuring them to accept his definition of it. This is stuff the platform gets to do.
Well, Congressman, I think it's important in the context of these...
How about you, Professor? Can you tell me what misinformation is?
I assume it would be saying something was completely untrue.
Saying something that's untrue, but with no intent. No intent. Disinformation, this is what all the misinformation experts tell us. Misinformation, saying something that's not accurate. Disinformation, saying something that's not accurate with the intent to mislead, right?
That's right to me.
You agree, Mr. Seligman? That's the common definition in the misinformation industry out there?
Yes, my understanding.
Okay, that's a definition. So now, Mr. Floyd, how about this question? When the Biden administration told the American people that the vaccinated couldn't get the virus, was it misinformation or disinformation?
Congressman, again, we were communicating the best medical research that we had at the time on behalf of a group of some of the best doctors in the world in Atlanta and Bethesda.
When the Biden administration told the American people that the virus didn't come from a lab, was that misinformation or disinformation?
Congressman, again, I can't speak to discussions that were had on that topic. It's been a couple of years, but again, generally...
The White House put pressure on us to censor the lab leak theory. This was something the White House cared about, so much so that the top people at Facebook were having a group discussion on it. So I'm just asking, when they said that, was that misinformation or disinformation?
Congressman, I can't recall the specific...
When the Biden administration said that masks work, was that misinformation or disinformation?
Again, Congressman, we were communicating the best research at the time, but I also believe that was a discussion that began in the previous administration as well.
How about what Professor Wojcicki brought up, Mr. Flaherty? When the White House said there was no such thing as natural immunity, was that misinformation or disinformation?
Again, Congressman, I am not a medical expert, and my job is to communicate on behalf of a team of medical experts.
So you weren't a medical expert, but you could suggest to Facebook that they needed to change their algorithm so that the American people would not see stuff from the Daily Wire. They'd only see stuff from the New York Times. You can do that, but you can't tell me if they were guessing or lying when they said something that was absolutely not true.
Well, again, Congressman, my role was as a communicator on behalf of the best information available, and the role of the platforms was to have a set of policies that they enforced on their own. And that, my engagement with them had, no bearing on what they were...
No bearing? No bearing?
Well, Congressman, again...
Who's Clark Humphrey?
Clark Humphrey was the digital director for the COVID...
Did you work with her?
Yes, Congressman, I did.
Part of the White House operation in the same area, right? You worked with her?
Congressman, she worked in a similar area.
Yeah, okay. And so when she said on the third day the Biden administration wanted to flag the below tweet, wondering if you can get moving on...
Every time he talks and he starts his sentence with congressman, you could tell he's bullshitting. It's very awkward to keep saying, well, congressman. He's just filling time so he can bullshit.
You ever talk to a car salesman and they say your name every other sentence?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
It drives me up a wall,
Same
man.
thing. Same thing.
Get moving on the process for having it removed ASAP.
In a lot of sales, like, training, they'll tell you to, like, use the person's name because people like to hear their name. No. Do not awkwardly use the person's name just so they can hear their name, because you're just sending up every little red flag for this person's bullshitting me.
Yep.
AP. That's not trying to impact what the platforms do. That's not telling the platform what kind of speech can be out there.
Congressman, again, we had the ability to flag whatever we wanted, and the platforms had an ability to say, no, I can't speak to whether or not they took any action on the particular.
No, if they said no, they get the President of the United States says that Facebook's killing people. They obviously felt the pressure. That's why they're having that group text conversation. How about this one? When the Biden administration told the American people the border is secure, was that misinformation or disinformation?
Congressman, again, I'm here to discuss my engagements with social media platforms.
I'm just asking. You were in the Biden administration when these kind of statements were being made. How about this one? When the Biden administration said the Inflation Reduction Act will actually reduce inflation, was that misinformation or disinformation?
Congressman, again, I'm here to discuss my interactions with social media companies.
Let me go back to the first question in the last 13 seconds. Any chance you'll answer one question for me? When the Biden administration told the American people that the vaccinated couldn't get the virus, were they guessing or lying?
Congressman, we were communicating on behalf of the best medical research that we had available at the time.
All right.
So this guy, not Jim Jordan. I like Jim Jordan. The other guy, Flaherty. I was gonna say he's got to go too, but I think where he's got to go is somewhere dark and dank and lonely. Yes.
Cold and wet.
Yes. So it says, but in the Zoom call, Flaherty said misinformation narratives include, quote, conversation online about corruption or mental fitness or Biden's record on the crime bill, effectively defining misinformation as anything that the Biden team found inconvenient. I'm not going to make you listen to him again.
Please don't let me listen to her.
Becca Rinkovich, Biden's rapid response director, later White House deputy director of digital strategy. Again, these are the people that you live in fear of. What was it? Taylor Brown said, anyone blackpilling is literally letting themselves be manipulated and bullied by theater kids. Correct. These are the people you're being manipulated and bullied by.
We saw a huge amount of volume and a lot of impact on narratives like Joe Biden was being manipulated by the radical left and disinformation around his mental acuity.
The only reason I played that was just because you didn't want me to.
Yeah.
The Biden-Harris team micro-targeted voters exposed to the disinformation, aka reality, of Biden's mental decline. They used psychographic targeting, a tactic that Cambridge Analytica was highly scrutinized for after the 2016 election. This clip is pretty interesting because this is like a peeling back the curtain.
Can we listen to the woman again? I don't want to listen to her.
Essentially, the pitch was that we were going to combine micro-targeting, which had existed in politics, which was, in part my background, but bring on boards new constructs from psychology, so that we wouldn't just be targeting you as a voter, we'd be targeting you as a personality.
We targeted folks based on online behavioral cues, building out personas.
Targeting you as a personality.
Personas based on the type of content they were consuming, what they were searching, the kinds of websites they were visiting.
We could build a psychological profile of each voter in a particular region.
We built out different personas for the different parts of our key audiences, both persuadable and our supporters, and then targeted them with custom campaigns.
So you've harvested my data, and then you've used that to target me in ways that I can't see and that I don't understand.
Yeah, so we would know what kinds of messaging you would be susceptible to, including the framing of it, the topics, the contents, the tone, whether it's scary or not, that kind of thing. So what you would be susceptible to, and where you're going to consume that. And then how many times do we need to touch you with that in order to change how you think about something?
Social engineers. Look at the social engineers are gay. Look at them, literally.
Social engineers. Ryan Isaac says, I hate this particular male hypostasis. Rinkovich says, we targeted folks based on online behavioral cues, building out personas based on the type of content they were consuming, what they were searching, the kinds of websites they were visiting, so that we could target folks in real time as they were exposed to that disinformation. And then these people, they just go and just describe everything that they were doing. Flaherty and Rinkovich saw the opportunity to grab a voter at a moment of curiosity and then essentially keep badgering her as she traveled across the internet, writes journalist Sasha Issenberg in his book Lie Detectives. If you typed the words Biden plus senile in a search bar, you'd be shown short videos of Biden speaking clearly. Upon hearing this, MSNBC's Chris Hayes exclaimed, "Wow!" Speaking of women on the internet.
What they called the Sleepy Joe storyline, using Trump's phrase about Biden's age and acute mental fitness, that was a problem. It had reach and it had potential impact. The persuadable voters said it would affect their vote choice. And so this manifests itself in a receptivity to storylines that suggested that he was old and physically weak, but it wasn't the real concern, as one of his pollsters described to me, was that he wouldn't be the author of his presidency. Right. And so the original communications team advice on dealing with the age thing was, let's set up photo ops where he's going to ride his bicycle. Let's have him jog up the steps to his plane. And this research project pushed back and said, no, people are not worried that he won't get his steps in the White House. They are worried that he
is not his own man, that he's not.
Exactly.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And so the response to it, if you were targeted, they started buying search terms like Biden and senile. And so if you went on Google and you search those terms, they would try to drop a cookie on your web browser so that eventually when you're somewhere off on the web, on YouTube, you might get shown a 15-second video of Biden speaking to camera unedited about his economic policies. Like the most banal thing that you can imagine, something that has no apparent connection to his age. Right. But the testing revealed that was the thing that assuaged these concerns, was no, he knows what he believes and he can say it clearly. And so, I think that the most effective tactics to dealing with this disinformation things are the ones that really step back and sort of think about this as a kind of traditional political communications problem, even if it's triggered by this sort of peculiar digital dynamics that sort of set it in motion.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story.
Blows my mind that there's people who are still on the fence and can be persuaded one way or another. That's so mind-blowing to me.
How do you understand the mind of the normie?
Yeah, no kidding.
So Biden's team also deployed an army of online influencers to fight disinformation. When asked for an example of disinformation countered with this digital organizing, Flaherty's example of such disinformation was the question about Biden's mental fitness. Joining Flaherty and Rinkovich on Zoom was the DNC counter-disinformation program creator and lead analyst, Tim Durgan. His reports, according to Flaherty, went to the highest levels of the Biden campaign.
We at the campaign cared a lot about this work, and reports that Tim did went to the literal highest levels of the campaign.
Twitter files show Durgan tried to censor many posts, including a video mashup of Biden coughing posted by Jack Posobiec. He failed in the first instance, but it seems like other such efforts were successful. According to lie detectives, he also cultivated ties with Google and Facebook. So this one here from Matt Taibbi tweeted, in the process, they sent a graph of their bizarre moderation flowchart, which among other things showed they can still apply labels to non-deceptive material. This seemed more interesting than the fate of a Biden coughing matchup. So it's frustrating that you can't see this stuff on the screen. Can you help us understand the decision-making process here? The content is deceptively altered and shared in a deceptive manner, which would seem to warrant a label. So they've got a flowchart here that was a lot more visible on my phone, but I can't even make it out on here because I can't zoom in on it. But the response here says, Tim, because the video is an unaltered excerpt of the vice president's speech, our teams consider it to be out of context but not deceptive. I hope this provides some insight. So you've got presumably Twitter. Is this Twitter pushing back on him? And this was the...
Excuse me. I stole for the... Thank you for... It was unexpected outlets. Not when I first
Factcheck.org labeled a Joe Biden video.
All right. You guys get the point. The Zoom host asks about the big problem of true misinformation. Durgan says it's a huge problem and wants social media to suppress true misinformation to promote authoritative news sources like New York Times. Big Tech's done that since 2018, but apparently not enough for Tim. A month later, the really authoritative New York Times celebrated the Biden-Harris team and called concerns about Biden's mental health baseless rumors and misinformation from right-wing influencers. But the Biden team didn't just get the media to forward their deception, they changed real votes. According to Rinkovich, quote, concern around Biden's mental acuity in particular went down by 8 points over the course of our campaign, resulting in about 200,000 votes for Biden.
Holy cow.
To put things in perspective, Biden won by fewer than 200,000 votes in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin combined. Today, Rinkovich runs the Institute of Rebooting Social Media at Harvard. This chick runs the Institute of Rebooting Social Media at Harvard. Durgan leads DNC disinfo analysis, and Flaherty is deputy campaign manager overseeing digital ads and social for Kamala Harris, despite her past criticism of the intrusive data collection he exploits. Like Biden's mental decline, the war on disinformation continues. Follow this guy. So this is Matt Orfalia, the Orf Report. I think the most of all of this, the thing I think you should take away from it is that these are not people to be feared. I know Javier Oliva said up here that the people aren't who we fear, it's the institutional power that they hold. But that institutional power is held by them because nobody will challenge them. Nobody will tell them no. Nobody will fire them. Everyone's afraid of the institutional consequences of going against them. But that's changing. Those tides are changing. I was going to say something. I don't know if I can actually get away with saying that on YouTube. Persecution is a funny thing, and some people are more deserving of it than others. I'll say that. All right. Now we've got a couple more stories here to wrap up. Cooper, I think you will enjoy this. We've got two of these relating to the hose, and then we've got an interesting thread on Tolkien. So I don't know. Did you see this? This thing was one of the big viral topics over the last few days.
Yeah, and it was very funny to see how none of the women got it. All of the guys got it.
Yes, right. Okay, so Rothmus here is one of these like viral content people. And this one, how viral did this go? 28.3 million views. Holy shitballs. So from Reddit, this chick says, I think I destroyed our relationship trying to compliment my boyfriend. My boyfriend and I are both 28 years old and together for 2.5 years. Yesterday night, we were drinking and one thing led to another, and I tried to compliment him by saying he's not someone who I would hook up or be a friends with benefits with, but marry. I thought everything was fine, but he seemed extremely distraught after that. I realized how he understood it and tried to clarify it, but he's still the same this morning. He told me he needs space to think for a while and left the house. All my friends tell me I messed it up, and guys tell me it's not a compliment, and most men will understand it differently. I think I destroyed our relationship, and I'm panicking right now.
I understand that it's not what she meant. She meant a good thing by that, but what he heard is, I like to fuck guys who aren't like you.
Exactly. That's in a sentence. That's exactly it. So Diane Yap, I don't know who this is. Some slope. The Sisyphus of per capita. She says, weird how men are getting upset about this. She's saying, I cannot see you as a one-time use thing to be discarded the next day. I can't imagine being casual or friends with benefits with you. I want more. I want forever. How is that not a compliment?
Yes, that's what she meant, but that's not what she said.
Right. And Diane Yap has been just spurging about this for days now. But Homath had a fantastic response. Shout out to Homath. What in the fuck? How am I not? I'm like not following anyone, and yet I'm following more people than I ever have. I don't understand this.
Maybe it's like a mobile desktop thing. Are you still following them? Next time that happens, check your phone and see if you're following them, and then see if it's just maybe a browser thing or something going on.
That's a good point. I guess that could be what it is.
I don't know technology, so I'm just talking out my ass here.
I'm definitely learned. I'm going to have the Dark MAGA profile picture for the rest of my life now, because no, this is not my sports ball account. Because I do not want to go through the changing my profile picture and losing the blue check for a while and getting unfollowed from a whole bunch of people. I don't want to go through that again. So it's Dark MAGA from here on out. So Homath says, don't be like Diane. Diane is mapping a women's emotional needs onto men and then judging men for not behaving accordingly. Men are not women. Emotion is based in survival. Men and women survive differently. Women's emotional needs are based on relationship fidelity because pregnancy happens inside her body. If the relationship is weak, she risks being unsupported and unprotected during this high-need, vulnerable time. If the father cheats, that's bad, but it doesn't always mean she loses his support and protection. The relational bond for her is paramount. Please note, Women are often happy to accept support from men without offering fertility because they gain much and lose nothing. Men's emotional needs are based on sexual fidelity, again, because pregnancy occurs inside the woman's body. Men are air-gapped from reproduction. If the woman cheats, the relationship no longer matters at all. Not my DNA, not my child, not my business. Please note, men are often happy to accept fertility from women without offering support because they gain much and lose nothing. So women are often happy to accept support from men without offering fertility. Men are happy to accept fertility from women without offering support. When this guy's long-term committed monogamous girlfriend tells him, I would not ever have considered you for casual sex, what he hears is, I offer you fertility, but only in exchange for support. I have in the past offered other men fertility even without support. This causes him to feel demoted in her eyes to a lower class of desirability. If you would offer fertility to other men even though they did not have to support you to get it, then why do I have to? Why were they better than me? Additionally, if I'm not that kind of guy to you, the kind that deserves fertility for free, but that kind of guy does exist to you, how much do I now have to worry about what happens when you run into another one? To us, Diane, this sounds like you're not my favorite type of guy to reproduce with, and I do have a history of giving my body to those guys for free, but I sure do like all the work you're putting in. Keep it up.
Right.
Nailed it. And then Bizlet says, man, all those traditional rules put in place sure make a lot of sense now that they were obliterated. And Homath says, a tradition is a solution for a problem we forgot we had because it worked so well. A banger. I didn't even see that she replied here. Maybe this made sense before the invention of birth control and DNA testing. Today, those who insist on holding to this view of things are engaging in naturalistic fallacy to justify lizard brain emotions.
These things go way deeper than,
Uh-huh.
This is just like, that's like shitlibbery.
Yes.
We're just like, we're enlightened now. Like, we have all of these technologies that that untether us from like biological reality or traditional human organizational reality, all of history, all of these things. So why is everyone worried about this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
As if it's not deeper than just like, rational thought.
Yeah, Vorpal Anvil says, as if most women wouldn't freak out if you asked for a DNA test. Yeah.
Yeah,
this
right.
is and great point here from Kate. She says, what she said wouldn't even be something she would utter to him in a world where virtue and chastity is valued. It'd be a given. That's a really good point. This whole conversation all presumes that the like friends with benefits one night stand culture exists. So Homath's response is, oh boy, doubling down? Diane, no one has to justify their emotions. You're not the arbiter of what is and is not appropriate for people to feel, want, or choose. I could similarly tell you that maybe being afraid of getting assaulted made sense before the invention of handguns, and that if you still fear potential male violence, you're engaging in naturalistic fallacy to justify your lizard brain emotions.
Right.
I can tell who you vote for, by the way. The mental pattern is always the same. It is the current year, therefore I can ignore everything that doesn't make me feel justified and also force everyone else to deal with feeling completely violated. It is the current year, so my feeling's good, your feeling's bad. Yap is such an appropriate name for you.
Your wife chimed in the chat.
Oh, did she?
You better respond.
Where'd it go? Oh, there she is. If a woman reacts like that dude is reacting, men accuse her of being psycho. She's an idiot and shouldn't have said that. Dude is still being a bitch despite picking her. Only girl he could get. I do think that the guy,
moping around and all that is kind of a bitch move.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, Amy, you're making a mistake. Insofar as you're making kind of the same mistake that this chick was making, and that you're assuming this is like two sides of an equation, and it's not. These things aren't equal. They're skewed in opposite directions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I'm
speaking from my vastly superior male brain.
Right. The fact that this guy is in a relationship with a chick that would even feel inclined to say something like that to him, and that the whole setup of this just shows that the entire relationship is dysfunctional. That it shouldn't have been the way it is right now. They're just boyfriend, girlfriend. Yeah, boyfriend. So they're 28 years old and they've been together for 2.5 years. They got drunk and she told him he's not someone who she would hook up with or be friends with benefits, but marry. And yeah, no guy ever wants to hear about have it implied to him that his wife is, or girlfriend or significant other or whatever, is engage sexually with any other men. Like, there's a reason why these traditions have existed for as long as they have.
Yeah,
because
if you have words
you're
of,
never
like,
going to look at the woman the same.
Advice to the ladies, even if you, it's just don't ever bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever bring it up.
Yep.
Even just lie. Just lie.
Uh-huh. Yes. The yeah.
Do you have any idea how often men have to lie to their wives for their own benefit?
Right.
This is an example of what you doing that in the other direction. Just don't even bring it up.
Uh-huh. I'm trying to think of what would lead her to saying something like that. Like, I don't think you're casual sex material. I think you're marriage material. Like, how do you possibly wind up in that conversation?
Right. Ryan Isaac makes a great point. He's like, it's like a man saying, I could remarry after you died.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
It's like, okay, it's probably true. And that's probably true for most men, if you're being honest. You don't say that to your wife.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right. And then if you do say that to your wife and your wife recognizes the implications of it and takes it personally, then yeah, you're the one who fucked up.
Yeah, you could get half the internet. All the guys would be like, what's her problem?
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't get it. Why are all the women freaking out? It's just the same thing here would just play out.
Okay, I got another women-related one that I've had this in the bookmarks for a while, and then someone brought it up in the course of all these conversations and stuff, and I was like, hey, that's a good thought, and I went to bookmark it and realized it already was. So this was back during the was it
the wife posting? Wife check?
Wife check, yeah, thank you. I just blanked on her name for a second. Who is that guy? Why is he doing that? What did he just say? Wait, can we rewind it? And this guy says, serious question, why are women like this? And Kofathianon, oh, I saw that. It said I wasn't following him. Oh, interesting. There's fuckery afoot. He says, women don't do cause and effect. To them, life is a series of things that just happen. If they figure things out, it's not on a conscious cognitive level, and by necessity, movies have things you're supposed to ignore. Family members played by unrelated actors, and things you're supposed to pay attention to, details of dialogue, plot, which doesn't really mesh with how women interact with and interpret the world. Movies are made for male cognition. And this guy replied, the purpose of this is highlighting this response here. He says, women intuit and men deduct. I say intuition in the sense of arriving at the truth subconsciously. This explains why women are often correct, more so than men, perhaps, but when asked to explain their reasoning, basically sound retarded.
Yeah, right.
I think this is exactly correct here. Just this 5 words: women intuit and men deduct. If you just internalize that, so many things will make sense. Maybe we need to get back to our masculine, feminine conversations we've had in the past. Okay. Let's do this Tolkien one, and then we're going to finish on a white pill story. You'll appreciate this Tolkien one, because you're a nerd.
Okay.
All right. What are you saying to Politically Catholic?
Oh, he said he had a handful of comments that he made here. Yeah, that's really strange. 2.5 years in at 28 years old and you're not married, even engaged. 90% of guys have made up their minds about marrying their girlfriends or not by 6 to 8 months. The rest is just waiting to see if she's ready and open to saying yes. Yeah, that's the thing. I was thinking, like, they've been together for 2.5 years or something like that. And first of all, this is the first time a conversation like this has happened. 1 or 2, they're still just like casually dating or whatever. This isn't serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're destined to stumble upon something like this that was gonna torch things.
Yeah.
And Duffhead says, I don't even know what intuit means, much less how to do it. Yeah, right. Okay.
I saw this thread.
Oh, okay, good. This guy says, y'all, seriously, hardly anyone even understands the unbelievable depth of Tolkien's linguistic genius. If ever there was an artist just straight up making jokes that only he would ever get, OMG. Pardon the millennial speak. So get this, it's epic. You know the Brandywine River in Lord of the Rings? Stop calling me. Sorry, I keep getting phone calls. In the books, they mentioned canonically that Brandywine is derived from the older Elvish name Branduin, which is Sindarine for Golden Brown River. Cute, right? But wait, there's more. You see, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings weren't canonically written in English. No, canonically in universe, there was once an elf who somehow found himself in England and told these stories to Mr. Tolkien, who translated them to English. The Hobbit is a translation into English from Westron of There and Back Again, A Hobbit's Tale by one Bilbo Labingi. The story of the War of the Rings is compiled from several sources, mostly from the account of Bonazir Bon Galbasi. Now, of course, these names won't do for English readers, Mr. Tolkien thought, so he came up with more English-sounding names that would evoke the same vibes to English speakers as these names do for native speakers of Westron, Khuzdul, Sindarine, and Quenya. I don't even know how these are. I've only ever read these names, so I have no idea how they're supposed to be pronounced. So Bilbo Labingi becomes Bilbo Baggins, since the A, the A suffix in Westron indicates a male name, like O in English, and Labine in Westron is a name for a sack or bag. And Baggins has the same kinds of folksy vibe in English as Labingi does in Westron. So what about Brandywine? Well, the word in Westron that the hobbits called the Branduin used to be Brandanine, which is close in sound but means border water, which makes sense because it's the border of the Shire. Later on, owing to the brown, frothy nature of the river, how it got the name Branduin, the hobbits began jokingly referring to it as Braldahim, which means heady brew or frothy beer river. So Mr. Tolkien, punning on a pun from Sindarine to Westron to English, calls it Brandywine, keeping the alcoholic pun intact and the phonetic closeness to the Sindarine Branduin. And that's like one river. This particular etymology is well understood, but there are so many more. The entire world of Middle-earth is like this. The Rohirrim speak in archaic English because Rohirric is an archaic form of Westron. It goes on and on. And here I'm patting myself on the back when I sneak a clever pun into a comment in some JavaScript. There's not enough nerd respect in the world for that dude. Absolute legend. Addendum. Who's Bonazir Bon Galbasi? English name. Samwise Sam Gamgee. Mayor of the Shire for 49 years, historian of the War of the Ring, and the only bearer of the one to give it up willingly. So yeah, I thought that was... I've known that about the... I knew that Brandywine was from Branduin, but I didn't know all the extra context behind it like that. It's just J.R.R. Tolkien was the most legendary linguistics nerd of all time. He created entire languages inspired by other languages with puns from one language into the next language, and I can't imagine what it must have been like living inside J.R.R. Tolkien's head.
Autism.
Yeah. All right. Got a couple videos here. This is low-hanging fruit, white pill content. Very wholesome. So a 90-year-old veteran. I'll just play the video here before giving you guys the context on it. I got to speed it up just a wee bit.
I'm going to bring that. Sometimes I forget.
Okay, so the total amount you borrowed
The caption on it says, "We surprised our 90-year-old veteran customer with an envelope of cash."
was $13.80, and like I told you,
It was 15.
he's not going to take interest. So nope. So you just pay the $13.80 back.
Oh gosh, God bless him. Okay, well, here's what I have to do. Since I haven't gotten paid yet, I'm still waiting for those guys. What I'm going to do is, I've got some cash with me, but I don't know if I'm going to have enough. So what we should do is this. We'll start out with taking any part of this that you need and see how much you can get for this.
Okay.
And if there's a deficiency for what I owe on the one, I got some cash.
Okay. Well, how about this? I have something for you. This is for you. This is a little gift. I know your birthday's this month, right? I saw it on your ID.
Yeah.
So we put together a little fundraiser, and we came up with some money for you.
Oh my gosh.
You can open it.
I could kiss you. God bless you. Should I open it now?
Yeah, go ahead. You might not have to do your other jewelry.
Oh my goodness.
So there's $1,300 there.
You can't do it. I can't let you do this.
Yeah.
No, listen, I can't let you do this.
No, we want to do it. It was, so there was about 25 people who donated.
Oh my goodness. I could never thank you.
No, you don't have to. I know you're struggling. I know you're trying to take care of your wife, and I appreciate your service.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Okay, so what do I need to do?
So you owe us $13.80. So if you have $80 more on you.
Yeah. Okay. So take that. Okay. So $80. I got a couple of hundreds. I don't know if I got.
So you just give me 80, and then you're all set. You can get your jewelry back.
Oh, okay, great.
So let me grab you some cash, some change.
So a little bit of the context here. His wife has, I believe, dementia or Alzheimer's, and he was there to pawn away some of their jewelry because he's trying to cover his bills and take care of her. So he's at the pawn shop or something like that, and then they raise the money for him. There's more to this story here. After we finish this video, there's more.
You know, you are an angel in disguise. You really are. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. Just, in fact, I was telling Hector on the way over. I said, you know, you meet very few really, really good people in life. But I said, the lady at the store is a wonderful person. He said, yeah, I should know her. Oh, this is the best birthday present anybody ever had.
Aw, good. I'm happy to hear that.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you what. One of these days when I can afford it, I'm going to call you and ask you to lunch. Would that be okay?
No,
really.
I appreciate that, but
I would want to.
we're just happy to do it. That's from me, my fiance, and like I said, about 25 people. So it didn't come out of just my pocket.
Well, bless your heart. I guess I better put this in here. I'm so excited. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. This is fabulous. And that was so thoughtful of you to remember my birthday.
I saw it on your ID, the end of the month, right?
Yeah, it's 25th, yeah.
Yeah.
25th.
And you're going to be
91.
91, wow.
Yeah.
And look at you, out and about, doing everything you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you, if I could ever get out from under this big rock that's on top of me, I could actually start taking better care of my wife. Right now, there are things that I should be doing for her that I can't afford to do, and it really bothers me. You know?
Yeah.
I just feel very badly about it, but
I think you're doing a great job.
I'm trying. Well, I'll tell you what.
All right, so the rest of the story. They created a GoFundMe. Help my elderly vet friend Donald. $376,881 raised for him. She said, "Hi everyone, I've never made a GoFundMe, but I feel that in this circumstances is appropriate. I have an elderly friend named Donald who is 90 years old, 91 in August. He's also a disabled veteran, Air Force, who is taking care of his wife who just got diagnosed with dementia. They never had kids and they don't have any family left. He's the sweetest old man you could ever meet and loves his wife dearly. He takes care of her around the clock and his landlord is raising their rent and he's falling behind terribly with all of his bills. He's deathly afraid he's going to be displaced and that they're going to make his wife go to a home. I'm currently looking to find him a new place to rent that is within his budget, but I was hoping I could fundraise some money to lessen his load of financial stress. Any amount would help, and any resources for a one-bedroom, first-floor apartment or house to rent would be much appreciated in the Manchester area. I've looked into all sorts of resources, even Section 8 housing for him, and the wait lists are too long. Thanks again." And then the update, she says, "Hi, everyone. Wow, just no words could possibly describe the overwhelming joy you all have brought to Donald and myself and my fiance. I wanted to give everyone an update of how all this is going to unfold. The news had contacted me. They wanted to do a story on this, so I'd given Donald a heads up that the fundraiser was still open and I had a little bit more money to give him. He had no idea how much money I was talking about. He's a very humble man who never asked or expected any of this. So when I told him I needed him to come down to the store again so I could give him the rest of the money from the fundraiser, which he was saying he did not want to accept, I told him that the news got wind of this and they wanted to do a story and it made him nervous. He's a very private person and he does not want to be in the news or any press contacting him. At that point, I knew I had to tell Donald what was really going on, so we had him come down to the store right away. My fiance and I sat him down and asked him to make sure he remembers to breathe when we tell him this news. He was looking at us very confused. I explained that the fundraiser I'd made for him had gone viral, which of course we had to explain what viral meant to our 90-year-old friend. I told him that meant that everyone in the world was seeing this and stepping forward to donate. At that point, before I even told him what the fundraiser was at, he was already extremely emotional and couldn't believe all the kindness from strangers across the world. When he came in yesterday, the GoFundMe was at $164,000, and when I told him the amount, it was just absolute hysterics from both of us. It was a truly beautiful and emotional moment, something I will never forget. He graciously said he could never ever thank us and the people who donated enough. He said he didn't deserve it. He was just an ordinary man, but we explained to him that he's so much more than that. As of now, the GoFundMe is going to stay open until we can sit down with Donald and an attorney and talk about exactly what needs to be done and how to put this money in a safe account for Donald to access. There's a lot to go over. We want to make sure everything's done right. For everyone who has reached out asking to share the video of giving him the news, I'm so sorry to tell you that we have to respect our 90-year-old veteran friend's wishes. That was a very vulnerable, emotional moment for him, and he does not want that shared, as I'm sure everyone can understand. He's going to send out a thank you to everyone in the world who donated today. Thank you so much to every single one of you who has donated, sent well wishes, prayers, messaged me about resources for Donald, shared the GoFundMe, came down to the store just to give a hug. I mean, seriously, none of this would have been possible without all of you guys, and we're just so blown away at all the kindness that exists out there that we very seldom hear about. You all are angels in disguise, and this type of love is what this world needs. And this is the last video.
Well, I want to say hello to everyone out there, all of you wonderful people. Your generosity and your kindness is just overwhelming. I'm not too sure that I know what to say or how to say it, other than to say that I'm profoundly grateful for everything you've done for me. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
So, hopefully that warms your heart and reminds you that there are good people in the world doing good things for each other. I want to amplify this kind of thing because I think it's a white pill. I think you can choose to focus on the bad aspects of the story, but the good aspects are very real as well. And if you have elderly family members, check in with them. Make sure someone's taking care of them. Someone asked here about the kids and grandkids. He and his wife never had kids, so they don't have any. Yeah, that's all I got. Taylor Brown says, take care of your elderly and love them. It's easy to be bitter toward those people because of the sins of their generation, but there are a lot of good people who'd give you the shirt off their back. Absolutely. Any other thoughts, Cooper?
No.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for showing up. Do us a favor and hit the like button on the way out. And subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter @RealKingPilled. Follow Cooper @CooperBrooks. And I will be back tomorrow morning with another episode of the ASTROLABE. Reminder, there will be no show in the morning on Wednesday. Might be able to do it in the afternoon, but I'm going to be getting a root canal done on Wednesday morning. So we'll see if we'll see how my mouth is doing by Wednesday afternoon. And lastly, join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. Come join us. We've got a good group in there. Taylor Brown he has the best memes. I don't know where he's getting all of them, but he's been dropping the mother load in the meme thread lately and cracking me up. So come join us, kingpill.com. Sign up. We'll be doing another schizo stream this Friday. Actually, no, false. That's another thing I have to announce. I will not be available Friday evening for the schizo stream. So if one of you guys who's listening, if you want to step up and coordinate it, then you can. Cooper, if you want to, or anybody else. I'm going to be driving up to Oklahoma City with my to pick up my little sister. So I might be able to hop on a voice chat, but I won't be able to do the schizo stream. But otherwise, we do a schizo stream every Friday evening. And I've actually got some in the queue now.
Taylor, you're in charge.
He never shows up for it either.
Euthanasia, you're in charge.
Yeah, Euthanasia's in charge. You get to run the schizo stream this week, Euthanasia. All right, guys. Well, I'm looking forward to the Trump Elon interview tonight. Depends on my schedule today. I might be able to hop on a stream somewhere or something to do that. I might just be in the VC and the King Pill Discord. That's probably what I'll do. I'll be in the VC and the King Pill Discord, and we can chat about it for those of you who are around. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow.